informasikan kepada Bapak Ibu hadirin sekalian, kita akan segera memulai rangkaian acara pada pagi hari ini. Kami persilakan untuk dapat menempati tempat duduk yang telah disediakan. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the head of the Land Human Resources Development Center, Mr. Dr. Hanato Prakoso. And also the speakers for today's agenda, Mr. Allan Schwartz, Profesor Dr. Omar bin Yaakob, Profesor Dr. Ketut, Buda Artana, and Miss Mary Ann.
Selamat datang di Hotel Santika Premier Bandara Palembang. Berikut kami persembahkan video safety briefing demi keselamatan Anda. Hotel ini terdiri dari 5 lantai dan memiliki 3 jalur evakuasi di setiap lantainya, tangga darurat di sayap kanan, sayap kiri, dan di tengah bangunan. Setiap lantai dilengkapi dengan alat pemadam kebakaran, hidran, alat percikan air atau sprinkler, sensor pendeteksi asap, dan sistem pengumuman publik. Di setiap kamar juga dilengkapi dengan rute evakuasi keadaan darurat yang tertempel di belakang pintu kamar Anda. Jika terjadi keadaan darurat seperti gempa bumi, kebakaran, atau keadaan darurat lainnya, jangan panik, ikuti petunjuk berikut. Jika Anda sedang berada di ballroom, segera menuju pintu keluar, lalu belok ke kanan untuk keluar dari gedung dan menuju ke assembly point. Atau ikuti petunjuk dari staf kami yang akan mengarahkan Anda ke jalur evakuasi terdekat. Jika Anda sedang berada di meeting room, segera menuju pintu keluar yang akan menyambungkan Anda ke lobi, lalu menuju pintu keluar untuk segera ke assembly point. Atau ikuti petunjuk dari staf kami yang akan mengarahkan Anda ke jalur evakuasi terdekat. Jika Anda sedang berada di area kamar, segera keluar lalu menuju tangga darurat terdekat yang ada di sayap kanan, sayap kiri, dan tengah bangunan. Berikut ini kami sampaikan cara evakuasi yang benar. Pertama, jangan gunakan lift. Ikuti petunjuk rute evakuasi yang tertempel di dinding-dinding. Cari tangga darurat terdekat dari posisi Anda. Kedua, jika Anda sedang menggunakan sepatu berhak tinggi, lepas terlebih dahulu sebelum menuju ke rute evakuasi. Assembly point adalah titik kumpul untuk keperluan evakuasi saat keadaan darurat. Titik kumpul di gedung ini ada 3 yang terletak tidak jauh dari ketiga pintu keluar. Kami harap Bapak dan Ibu tetap tenang bila terjadi keadaan darurat. Khusus apabila terjadi gempa bumi, segeralah menjauh dari kaca jendela dan barang-barang pecah belah agar Anda terhindar dari pecahan kaca. Jauhi juga barang-barang besar yang berpotensi untuk jatuh dan menimpa Anda. Carilah tempat yang aman untuk perlindungan seperti meja dan lindungi kepala Anda dengan bantal. Apabila Anda tertimpa reruntuhan, buatlah keributan seperti memukul batu atau besi di sekitar Anda untuk menarik perhatian. Terima kasih atas kepercayaan Anda pada Hotel Santika Premier Bandara Palembang. Selamat beraktivitas.
Welcome to Inland Water and Ferries Transport Politeknik of Palembang. Inland Water and Ferries Transport Politeknik of Palembang is a state university within the Ministry of Transportation, which is under the auspices of the Transportation Human Resources Development Agency. The main task of Inland Water and Ferries Transport Politeknik of Palembang is to organize vocational education and training in the field of river, lake, inland water, and maritime transportation.
Politeknik Transportasi Sungai, Danau, dan Penyeberangan Palembang yang bertempat di Kabupaten Banyuasin, Provinsi Sumatera Selatan, kampus yang berdiri di area 22 hektar dengan sarana dan prasarana diklat yang berstandar Internasional Maritime Organization.
Inland Water and Ferries Transport Politeknik of Palembang has 3 study programs, namely Diploma 3 Nautical Studies, which studies the science of ship operation, especially ship deck and ship motion or ship navigation. Diploma 3 in Ship Machinery, which studies the science of ship machinery based on modern methodologies and information technology. Diploma 3 Inland Water Transport Management, which produces graduates to meet the needs of human resources in the field of inland water transportation and crossing ports. Inland Water and Ferries Transport Politeknik of Palembang is equipped with training facilities and infrastructure to support learning, including nautical laboratory, which is consist of ship anatomical laboratory, nautical equipment room, cargo handling, global maritime distress and safety system, full mission bridge simulator, and radar ARPA simulator. Engineering laboratory, which consists of engine room simulator, physics laboratory, chemistry laboratory, engineering equipment room, and real engine. Inland Water and Ferries Transport Politeknik of Palembang also organize seafarer skill training, including BST, AFF, SCRB, MFA, MC, SAT, SDSD, CMT, CMHBD, GMDSS, Able Deck, Able Engine, Rating Deck, and Rating Engine. Come on, register yourself as a cadet at Inland Water and Ferries Transport Politeknik of Palembang. See you at the campus Inland Water and Ferries Transport Politeknik of Palembang.
Ladies and gentlemen, as our very warm welcome and gratitude to have your presence today, may we present to you a traditional dance from South Sumatra, performed by the students of Inland Water and Ferries Transport of Politeknik of Palembang. Please welcome Gending Sriwijaya Dance. persons today to receive sekapur sirih. We also would like to invite our speakers today to receive sekapur sirih from the dancer. As well, Tanja is a traditional harp from South Sumatra. Boleh kita berikan tepuk tangan, big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Students of Inland Water and Ferries Transport of Politeknik of Palembang, Gending Sriwijaya. Togetherness this morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning ladies and gentlemen. Salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Nama Budaya, Salam Kebajikan. Our great appreciation to you for being here with us this morning. And it is such an honor for me to be able to stand here to be a master of ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me firstly to greet our esteemed guests, distinguished figures, His Excellency, Head of the Land Human Resources Development Center. Can I have big round of applause for Mr. Dr. Harato Prakoso? Boleh kita berikan tepuk tangannya paling meriah Bapak Ibu. The Honorable the Director of Inland Water and Ferries Transport Politeknik of Palembang, Mr. Eko Nugroho Wijatmoko. Kita berikan juga tepuk tangan yang paling meriah. And it's very special to finally have our presenters and our speakers all the way from Australia, Mr. Allan Schwartz from AMSAT International. Please stand up. So we finally see you today. And we also have another speakers from Philippines, Miss Mary Ann from Philippine Merchant Marine Academy, and also as the chairperson of FASCA. We also have Professor Dr. Omar bin Yaakob from Universiti Teknologi of Malaysia, and from our beloved country, Professor Dr. Ketut Buda Artana from Institut Teknologi 10 Nopember, who join us virtually today. Your presence, ladies and gentlemen, this morning is very much appreciated. Ladies and gentlemen, inland water transportation has a very vital role in regional and international connectivity. It is related to the important routes for trade, tourism, culture, and also local communities. In order to improve water transportation quality, there are several aspects that should be upgraded, such as safety culture, sustainable transportation, and the use of technology and energy. So today, in this very meaningful morning, we are gathered to discuss our focus, sharing information based on scientific research in the field of water transportation, discussing the importance of safety culture, sustainable transportation, and connecting all the stakeholders in transportation sector. We proudly present to you the 4th International Conference of Inland Water and Ferries Transport Politeknik of Palembang 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to request to you to please rise for our national anthem. Singing National Anthem of Indonesia. Menyanyikan bersama lagu kebangsaan Indonesia Raya. Hadirin dimohon berdiri. Please be seated. Hadirin dimohon duduk kembali. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished figures, for the next session, let's pray together as we start our agenda. And the praying session will be led by Mr. Hari Arkani.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, let us bow our head for a moment, pray to God Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, so that our international conference can be precious to all of us. I will lead this prayer based on Islamic, and for the who are Muslim, you are pleased to pray according to each of your beliefs. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. O Allah, today, Thursday, October 17, 2024, in this beautiful place, we gather here to bring about an international conference on safety culture in smart, sustainable, and eco-green for inland water and ferries transport. Make this international conference as a useful science assembly, as a medium of sharing useful ideas, knowledge, and experience of scholars, researchers, and students of various disciplines. May the conference we organize today benefit to our lives, broadens our knowledge, shine our ideas, and lead us to be successful, productive person, which in turn will boost the dignity of our nations. O Allah, guide or bless our heart and our minds with the light of your guidance. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities. Help us to speak our minds clearly. Help us to listen to each other, respect each other, love each other, so that we are included to the best person. O Allah, protect us from unintended temptation, show us the right path and give us knowledge and strength to perform good things. Equally, show us and make it clear the bad thing and give us knowledge and strength to avoid them. O Allah, you are the one who can fulfill our dua. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azabannar. Subhanaka rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bapak Ibu hadirin tamu yang berbahagia, ladies and gentlemen, who join us as well as virtually today. We are gathered here, as it is mentioned at the very beginning, to share ideas, perspectives, expertise, experience in inland water transportation and technologies. So, for the next session, we also would like to invite to the podium to share the framework and activity reports of this forum. Please be invited, the Director of Inland Water and Ferries Transport Politeknik of Palembang. Kita berikan tepuk tangan yang paling meriah. Big round of applause for Mr. Dr. Eko Nugroho Wijatmoko, MMMRA. Time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The Honorable Head of Land Transportation Human Resource Development Center, Mr. Hananto. My respect to Mr. Allan, Schwartz, Mrs. Mary Ann, Profesor Dr. Ketut Buda Artana, Profesor Dr. Omar bin Yaakob, all leaders and director of Politeknik in Human Resource Development Agency on Transportation, invited and participants of the International Conference. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. On this good occasion, let us praise and grateful to the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has given His mercy, guidance and blessing so we can be present here in health and good condition to implement the international conference with them culture in smart, sustainable and eco-green for inland water and ferries transport. Ladies and gentlemen, the development of science and technology has an important role in driving change and progress toward a better direction. Various innovations are made to improve the quality of human life in all lines, including the transportation system. Transportation has become an important aspect of human civilization and become a global issue in addition to basic needs such as food and green. In efficiency and transportation is shared challenge that is continuing to be searched for a solution. Ferries transportation phenomena and all their problems are being studied extensively and comprehensively. One of the interesting attention is in the field of shipping, especially in the inland water and ferries transport. Furthermore, the further challenge is how to create safe, integrate smart, sustainable, and eco-green for inland water and ferries transport. May respect participants. Currently, we have heard of several accidents that happens to cadet and ship crew and duty. Often found transportation accidents that occur are caused by human factor and mismanagement. Negligence in the application of standard operation procedure is still happening. Safety culture awareness is need for every transportation officer to release zero mistake in transportation. Shipping safety factor become priority factor that must be fulfilled in accordance with shipping activity standard for safe and comfortable transportation. Safety culture at ferries must be created by considering fundamental from safety knowledge, safety practice, occupational safety and health management system. Besides the safety culture, ferries transport must be integrated and sustainable to create an integrated and connected transportation system from land, water, and aviation. It also promotes the sustainable use of renewable energy. The primary focus of attention here are the use of renewable energy for a fuel with zero exhaust emission, minimize negative impact on the environment and human health, eco-green and economical in order to build better community welfare. Several applicable research on green transportation has been conducted by researchers in the inland water and ferries transport Politeknik of Palembang, including the utilization of solar photovoltaics as a source of electric energy and ferry ship design and construction of the public electric vehicle charging station based on solar panel for electric vehicle operational at inland water and ferries transportation Politeknik of Palembang, and feasibility study of the business processing of the drinking water standard for the need of ferry ship. My respect participant, the international conference is held as one of the three dharma of higher education, namely research and community service, as regulated in the law of the Republic of Indonesia number 12 of 2012 on higher education. We hope this event can provide a great contribution for lecturer, instructor, teacher, personnel to develop the faith in the field of research, which will then be beneficial for all us, for the progress of the Indonesian nation. It is also expected that this international conference can be a media for knowledge transfer with researches, practice, academician, and cadet in the field of transportation as preparation to face future challenge. Finally, I would like to welcome to the resource person, invited guests, functional and instructor official in the Human Research Development Agency in Transportation, and welcome you to attend this conference. I think that all. Thank you for your attention. Wabillahi taufik wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much. Can we give one more time big round of applause for Mr. Dr. Eko Nugroho Wijatmoko, MMMRA, as the Director of Inland Water and Ferries Transport Politeknik of Palembang, for his report and also welcome remarks for all of us. Now, ladies and gentlemen, to the next session. To deliver the welcoming remarks, please allow me to welcome to the stage Head of the Land Human Resources Development Center, Mr. Dr. Hananto Prakoso. Kita berikan tepuk tangan yang paling meriah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, dan salam kebajikan. Excellencies, Allan Schwartz, Executive Director of Operation M.Sc Internasional Australia. Thank you for your coming. Mary Ann Pastrana, Lecturer of Philippine Merchant Marine Academy. Profesor Dr. Ketut Budi Artana, Professor of Institut Teknologi 10 Nopember Surabaya. Profesor Dr. Omar bin Yaakob, Professor of Universiti Teknologi Malaysia. Thank you for your coming, Professor Omar. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Ministry of Transportation of Republic of Indonesia, it is my great pleasure and honor to welcome you all at this international conference on the topic Safety Culture in Smart, Sustainable, and Eco-Green for Inland Waterways and Ferry Transport, organized by Inland Waterways and Ferry Transport Politeknik of Palembang. Thank you for being in this event. I will also express my sincere appreciation to the Director, Inland Waterways and Ferry Transport Politeknik, who initiated to hold this event. Ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, the world of transportation is evolving rapidly today. Various innovation and strategies are being implemented to continuously improve the quality of service and operations. One type of transportation that continues to develop is ferry transport. Since ferries play a vital role in both regional and international connectivity, providing essential route for trade, tourism, and local communities. Several key aspects are of great importance in the development of sustainable transportation, particularly in areas such as safety culture, sustainability, and eco-friendly initiatives. A strong safety culture is a top priority in all forms of transport, including ferry services. Accident on the water can have severe consequences, potentially diminishing public trust in transport providers and also regulators. Therefore, adopting a robust safety culture is essential to prevent incidents and ensure the protection to everyone or everyone involved. There are various factors that support a strong safety culture in ferry transportation, such as setting safety standards, maintaining vessels, training crews, improving communication system, using navigation aids, monitoring weather conditions, and applying risk management strategies to mitigate potential hazards. Ladies and gentlemen, beyond safety, the development of sustainable and eco-friendly transportation is also a critical focus in today's transportation system. Sustainable and eco-friendly transportation refers to systems that minimize negative impact on the environment, economy, and society while promoting efficiency, fairness, and public health. The key principles of sustainable transportation include energy efficiency, the use of renewable energy, the reduction of greenhouse gas emission, decreasing traffic congestion, ensuring social justice and accessibility, promoting sustainable mobility, fostering collaboration and community engagement, and also encouraging technological innovation through research. I do hope this international conference will serve as a platform for researchers, practitioners, and policymakers from around the world to share their knowledge, experience, and innovations related to safety culture and sustainability in transportation, particularly as applied to ferry services. We look forward to hearing valuable insight on the development of safety technologies and cultures, ongoing effort to support sustainable transformation, and inspiring projects that have been successfully implemented in various countries. In our increasingly interconnected world, cross-border cooperation is becoming more essential. I do encourage all of us to take this opportunity to collaborate, exchange ideas, and build partnerships that will help us achieve our shared goal of cleaner, greener, and more sustainable future. Ladies and gentlemen, before concluding, let me extend my sincere thanks to all speakers, panelists, and participants who have taken the time to attend today. I would also like to thank the organizing team for their hard work in making this international conference a success. I'm fully confident that your active participation and valuable contribution will make a big differences in our effort to improve ferry services, ferry transport services, notably in Indonesia. Thank you for bringing your energy, knowledge, and expertise. I wish you all a fruitful discussion. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much. Mohon berkenan Bapak untuk tetap berada di atas panggung. We move on to the next session, the opening ceremony of our international forum today. We also would like to invite to come forward to the stage our guests today. We invite our speakers and we invite the Director of Inland Water and Ferries Transport, Mr. Eko Nugroho. We invite Bapak Andri Yulianto, Bapak Marcelo, Bapak Broto, Bapak Johan, dan Bapak Supriyadi to come forward to the stage. We are going to see the opening ceremony of the International Conference 2024 held by Inland Water and Ferries Transport of Politeknik of Palembang. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, the International Conference is officially started. Dilanjutkan dengan foto bersama. Mohon tetap berada di tempat. We are going to the photo session. We will do 2 sections. For the first section, now, ya silakan kepalkan tangan ke depan. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Kami mohon untuk dapat menuju ke tempat yang telah ditentukan di bawah. Kami mengundang kepada seluruh peserta untuk dapat berdiri di tempatnya masing-masing. Kepada rekan-rekan fotografer kami persilakan mengambil gambar dari atas panggung. We do the next session of photo session all together with all the participants. Let me lead the photo session. 3, 2, 1. We do it one more time. 3, 2, 1. Boleh tangannya ke depan? 3, 2, 1. Cukup, terima kasih. Thank you very much. Sekali lagi, big round of applause ladies and gentlemen for all of us today. Well, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished figures, our esteemed guests, it is such a relief for all of us to open this meaningful and important forum. As already mentioned at the very beginning, that we are gathered here to share information based on scientific research in the field of water transportation, which the panelists or the presenters will be invited to several groups and they will deliver his research. And to discuss the importance of safety culture, sustainable transportation, as we are going to listen to the presentation presented by our speakers, and to connect all the stakeholders, as I see this morning that we also have very important guests from institutions, from governments, from universities, and once again, it is such an honor for all of us, especially for Politeknik Transportasi, Politek Trans, SDP Palembang, to successfully hold this important forum. Big round of applause, sekali lagi tepuk tangan yang paling meriah untuk Politek Trans SDP Palembang yang sudah menyelenggarakan acara yang sangat luar biasa ini. Baik hadirin, tamu undangan yang berbahagia, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to step forward to our agenda. As I mentioned, we have several speakers from Australia, Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia. And I hope that all of us can receive the insights, the knowledges from the speakers as we can improve our quality in inland water transportation in Indonesia, especially in South Sumatra. And the discussion will be separated into 2 sections. The first one is presentation, and the next session is discussion. So, ladies and gentlemen, you may ask questions or anything, unless you can ask money for the speakers today. Bisa Bapak Ibu nanti bertanya dengan para narasumber kita. Jadi kami mohon bisa diikuti dengan baik dan juga tertib. Well, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, we invite our moderator kita yang akan memandu jalannya diskusi dan juga presentasi dalam acara kali ini. Langsung saja, we invite our moderator. Big round of applause for Mr. Ade Mardani Putra, M.Sc. Kami persilakan. Boleh kita berikan lagi sambutan tepuk tangan yang paling hangat untuk Bapak Ade Mardani, sekali lagi Bapak Ibu, yang akan memandu jalannya diskusi. Kami persilakan.
Good morning all. Welcome to the 4th International Conference of Inland Water and Ferry Transport Politeknik Palembang 2024. Give applause. This is the 4th time hosting by Inland Water and Ferry Transport Politeknik Palembang conduct with the same event with the inspiring and inviting and also expertise global maritime perspective speaker from around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, today's event theme is safety culture in smart, sustainable, eco-green for inland water and ferry transport. 17th of October 2024. Welcome to South Sumatra, Indonesia. Welcome to beautiful Palembang. The Honorable Head of Land Transportation and Human Resources Development Center, Dr. Hananto Prakoso. Good morning. Also Director of Inland Water and Ferry Transport Politeknik Palembang, Dr. Eko Nugroho Wijatmoko MM MRA. Our international panel speaker, Mr. Allan Schwartz from AMSAT International, welcome to Palembang. And the second one is Mary Ann Ibuna Pasrak, PhD candidate at World Maritime University, also Philippine Merchant Marine Academy, and she also is a chairperson of FESTED. Our speaker from our beloved country, Indonesia, Professor Dr. Ketut Budi Artana ST M.Sc, from Institut Teknologi Sepuluh Surabaya. He will join with us virtually. The last but not least, Professor Dr. Omar bin Yaakob from Universiti, Teknologi, Malaysia. Please give applause for the 4th panelist for this event. Ladies and gentlemen, as we know that safety is crucial in our sector, in maritime industry. Safety is significant contribution for carry transport from one place to another place, one port to another port. As we know, Indonesia, one of the big archipelago country in the world, more than 70,000 islands connect with the ship transportation, namely one of them type is ferry transport. However, Indonesia also faces many challenges, such as incidents, injury, as a technical issue that contributes incident every year. How we solve this problem, how we tackle the issue, and who is the responsibility about the safety? Seafarer, shipping company, or even the government? In this stakeholder, Ministry of Transportation. For tackle and discuss this issue, we have a special panel for discussing and hearing from them experience. With me, Putra, your moderator, will bring you to the next breakthrough session with the insightful experience and expressions by our speaker. Without further ado, let's ask to inviting our expert people to join me on the stage. The first is Mr. Allan Schwartz from AMSAT International. Join with us also Mary Ann Ibuana Pastrana, PhD candidate at WMU from the Philippine Merchant Marine Academy and chairperson of FASTRAD. Mabuhay. From Indonesia, Profesor Dr. Ketut Buda Artana ST M.Sc from Institut Teknologi Sepuluh Nopember Surabaya. He will join us virtually from Italy. The last but not least, our guest from our neighbor country. I think you know. He, Profesor Dr. Omar bin Yaakob from Universiti Teknologi Malaysia. Apa kabar Bapak? Baik, selamat datang di Palembang. Ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you a bit how this event will run. Every speaker have 30 minutes for delivery the presentation. Then after that, following with another speaker. And after that, we have a session for Q&A. In this session will be ended by conclusion. So the first, our speaker to share about the safety culture is Mr. Allan Schwartz, AMSAT. He is from M.Sc International. Before we beginning our he will begin a presentation, let me brief read his profile. Mr. Allan Schwartz from Australia, he expert in executive strategy leader in manager, innovative thinking in problem solving, training and staff development commitment, skill and experience, ferry or ship safety policy and training, both state control, inspection training and supervision, professional maritime qualification. He was graduate from Diploma of Engineering, Marine Engineering, Australian Maritime College, 1985, graduate certificate in Marine Surveying, Australian Maritime College, 1997, Bachelor of Technology, Marine Engineering from Australian Maritime College, 1999, Executive Fellow Program, Australia and New Zealand School of Government, 2010, and Managing Regulation, Enforcement and Compliance, Australian and New Zealand School of Government, 2011. He also has experiences as AMSAT International consultant from 2020 to present, such as Indonesian Internal Review of Domestic Ferry Safety Environment and Strategy, Indonesia Domestic Ferry Safety Assistance Project Core Advisor, Indonesia Maritime Safety Project Senior Technical Advisor, and PNG Strategy Review of Small Craft Safety Regulation and Strategy. He also had experiences at Australian Maritime Safety Authority, we call it the AMSA, as a port marine surveyor from 1994 to 2005, manager ship inspection 2005 to 2010, general manager operation 2010 to 2019, and also executive director operation 2019 to 2021. If I have to read, I think it's not enough our time because full of the information and experience in international scale. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear the perspective of the safety culture. What is the definition of safety culture? How the impact of the safety culture? And if safety culture is not performing well, it will impact for what? And how we solve the problem of the human factor. We know that in global or industry, 90 to 95% of incident on board ship caused by human factor. Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy and listening the speaker from this morning, from Mr. Allan Schwartz from M.Sc International. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, and good morning. And I would once again just like to very much say terima kasih for the invitation to come and speak to you. one of the things, and I have to say, I'm a little bit nervous today.
Just enjoy and relax.
Yeah, and I hope my Australian English is able to be understood. I think one of the reasons I am a little bit nervous today is because I am excited as well, because I have the privilege of speaking to so many influential people in Indonesian maritime sector. And when I say influential people, I am talking about people of influence today, but more importantly, people of influence tomorrow. That is where the opportunity is that we continue to seek. So let me just see if I can get this presentation going. Where is it?
Boleh dimunculkan presentasinya? Alright.
Are we blocking? We are blocking the audience.
So I'm just trying to see what you can see.
Also, you can, if you feel free to stand. You
So-
also
yeah.
move.
Okay.
Yeah, stand.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Feel free.
Maybe I will stand. So you have heard.
It's okay.
Oh, this is. You have heard the kind introduction. I don't need my notes really, do I? What I would say is, in summary, I have spent 40
Yeah,
years.
you also move and stand. Yeah. Feel free.
So you have heard.
No, it's okay. Just enjoy.
You have heard the kind introduction. What I would say
Just
is,
the audience.
in summary, I have spent 40 years working in maritime. 40 years at sea, between at sea and then as a maritime safety regulator. I have a lot of experience in safety, and I have seen lots of good things and lots of not so good things. I have done investigations into big accidents, accidents where engine rooms have been completely engulfed in fire, and unfortunately accidents where people have died. And this is something that is unacceptable. So today I will talk about these three components. I will talk about some safety in general, I will talk about regulation, and then I will talk about safety culture. And what is important is all these three things are different. So safety in general. So one of the things I want to do today, what I would be very happy is if I can challenge you to think about safety differently, to think about safety deeper than what you may usually do. So it is a simple concept, isn't it? But is it? If it was simple, why are we here? Why are we still talking about safety? It is not simple. Safety research has been going on for probably close to 100 years. And we are still researching and we are still talking. So safety is not simple. One of the reasons for that is safety is a very personal thing. Now, what does that mean? So, as an example, over here we have a general power outlet. We plug things into it. Who in this room would feel comfortable and safe to come up and replace a general power outlet with a new one? How many people, put your hand up, would you feel safe to do that? No? Well, I would. So am I wrong? Am I wrong? Maybe not. So that is a demonstration of safety is different for all of us. Some things we will agree on and some things we won't. And one of the examples, as a parent, when you have children, one of the things that frustrated me a lot was I would say to my children when they would get on their bicycle, put your helmet on, put your helmet on. And they would say to me, but I'm not going to crash. I don't need a helmet. So this again is an example of safety is something a little bit different to all of us. And that difference comes down to risk tolerance. And risk tolerance, we will talk a little bit more about that, but this is an important understanding. That is what makes hazards and how we deal with them makes them very personal, is risk tolerance. And risk tolerance, if I use the example of the power outlet, risk tolerance is about what we know, our informed decisions, but it is also about what we don't know, which is the unknown, the ignorance. Yeah? So that is what makes risk tolerance, that is what defines it. Oh, you got that one. Sorry, and it's spelt incorrectly. I didn't realise you had this one. This is what risk assessment is a bit like. It's always different. It's different for all of us. So this is what risk, trying to deal with hazards, is like. It is a moving target. We always have to adjust. So here are some pictures I have just to demonstrate risk tolerance differences. Now this picture was taken in the port I used to be a safety inspector in. So what do you think about that picture? Does that look safe? No. Usually we see this picture and everyone, but what I'd say is there has been some thought by these workers. For example, they have a rope, a ladder to get down there. They have safety harnesses. They are hooked up. So there has been some thought given to it. Whether or not it is right, I don't know. Here is another picture. This is another one. So again, there has been some thought given into managing the risks. From a purely engineering perspective, as long as this plank here doesn't break, 3 men on one end, a lot more length, you know, that's actually engineering-wise quite reasonable. But obviously there are failings here. They've missed things like having a safe platform to work from. Hopefully none of these 3 men move. And the last one was a photo in Australia. This is greasing the wires on a crane. So again, he has a harness on. There has been some thought given to it, but I would suggest not enough. So my wife's risk tolerance, just to be personal, my wife, she is my work health and safety advisor at home. And she has put on our refrigerator a little note that reads, "It is better to be careful 100 times than dead once." Yeah? So this is the sort of risk tolerance that we all have to decide where is the level. And that is what makes individual safety different for all of us. So from an organisation's point of view, having different risk tolerances, having personal safety differences within an organisation, that is bad, because that exposes the organisation to all sorts of other risks. So that's where, as we talk later with safety culture, we need a common view. So as I've said, we all do risk management. We all do it personally, but we all do it a little bit differently. And we all weigh up the risks and the rewards. And it is a balancing act, which is why some people feel safe to change a PowerPoint and some people don't. We're balancing the risk versus reward. And sometimes we get it wrong. As I said, for an organisation, You want consistency in your safety approach. Now, this is a quote I found. In this presentation, I've used a number of quotes that I found online. So this is a quote I think is absolutely correct. Employees learn by example. If they don't see leaders practicing good safety habits, they don't think safety is important in that organisation. And that is true. And for the leaders in this room, you will know it. And for the future leaders, trust me when I say, your employees watch what you do. They judge what your performance is against what your words. So if you don't act properly, they know. So leadership in developing safety is critical. But sometimes the risks that we are exposed to are not our own. Sometimes we are caught by others. So can we play the video that goes with this? Let's see. So in the job I was in at AMSAT, this sort of thing was one of my biggest concerns as the boss. I had 192 staff, of which about 80 were vessel inspectors. So me making sure they were safe on the job was one of the most important things in my role as the safety regulator. So, if we talk about safety regulation now, is it the answer? Has anyone achieved good safety outcomes anywhere by regulation? Now, I may say something a little bit surprising to you here. As a safety regulator for almost 30 years, I believe the answer is no. No one has been able to make regulations that fix safety. Don't get me wrong, regulations play an important role, but they're not everything. And I'll explain why in a minute. There are two parts to the answer. One is you need good safety regulation, but the second part to regulation is you need good compliance. And in my experience, compliance with safety regulation is the big failing. As a safety inspector in Australia, it was very uncommon for us to issue deficiencies or detentions or banning to ship because they didn't have a regulation in their system. It almost always was because they were not complying with the requirements. So safety regulation doesn't always give you the answer. And some truths, and this is my experience as a safety regulator. Regulation is usually a reaction to an incident. And what does that mean? It means the incident. And what that means is something has already gone wrong. So it's too late to stop the first incident, so regulation happens after the event, so it's already too late. Regulation is slow to get into place. You all know it. It doesn't matter whether it's international regulation through the International Maritime Organisation or regulation through your own governments. It can take years to get new regulation into existence. So regulation comes after the accident, and it usually takes a long time to come into place. So regulation has some limitations. The other thing I always found with regulation, usually regulation is what I call the lowest common denominator. It is not the maximum standard. And the reason for that is because regulation is trying to apply to everyone. So you have to apply what you think is okay. So regulation, particularly, and I'll talk about types of regulation, usually is at the lowest level possible. It's the minimum standard in traditional safety regulation. And that's where I talk about the style of maritime regulation. So if I talk about prescriptive regulation and performance-based regulation, I will do that now, but there is a difference between the two. Maritime regulation traditionally is prescriptive. It's the sort of regulation that says you will have 2 of these things, and this is where they will be stored, and this is how often you will check them, right? So that's prescriptive regulation. Performance-based regulation is not minimum standard. It says this is what the desired outcome is. So rather than saying you will have 2 fire extinguishers, performance-based regulation says you will have enough fire extinguishers to fight a fire effectively. Yeah? Traditional maritime regulation is the first one, but the ISM was the first attempt at an international level for performance-based regulation. So as an example, a personal example of minimum regulation, I did an investigation in a fire on a ship. So this is the main air circuit breaker. So this is sort of that big in the main switchboard of a ship. 440 volts, 3-phase power goes into that. So in this case, they got a short circuit within the circuit breaker, and that produced lots of current and lots of heat. The result was that. So on the left-hand side, that's what the circuit breaker looked like, and on the right-hand side is the distribution panel above it. So you can see a lot of heat damage. Now this ship, under the international requirements, was required to have 2 breathing apparatus and 2 spare bottles for each breathing apparatus. The ship itself had 3 breathing apparatus and 2 spare bottles. So they had, what was that, 3 and 2 spare. So they had 9 bottles of air on their breathing apparatus. They used every single bottle of air just assessing what was going on. They didn't fight the fire. They were in port and the fire service came down. So they met the minimum standards, but it was nowhere near enough. And the first thing that ship did after this fire was put on additional breathing apparatus and a compressor to make their own air bottles, fill the air bottles. So this is an example of minimum standards. And the problem with prescriptive maritime regulation. So as I said, it's the traditional model and it applies minimum standards, whereas performance-based is non-specific and focuses on what the desired outcome is. So ALARP, I don't know whether you know what that is, that's as low as reasonably practicable. Now for operators, what you find, and for regulators, it is very easy to regulate the first one because you can go on board and you can count things, you can look at things. It is very difficult to regulate the second one because the details aren't there. But this is where you get to higher standards. And prescriptive, as I said, can be ineffective and a blunt tool. And performance-based regulation is harder for operators and regulators to understand what the requirements are. So some examples, right? So this is in SOLAS. Prescriptive, a ship shall carry 2 firefighting outfits. Performance-based regulation is things like must take all reasonable steps, must provide a working environment that is safe for employees without risk to their health. Ensure the workplace is safe for employees. And give them information, etc., to make sure they can perform their job in a way that is safe and without risk to their health. Yeah, so completely style of regulation, but it doesn't apply a low standard, it applies a high standard. Now, what's important as well, don't think that this just applies to the vessels. This applies to safety regulators. This was why it was so important to me, because I had to make sure all of my employees were safe. So that's the difference between those two types of regulation. So the ISM code was the first attempt internationally to do this sort of thing. And that's where it came up with acknowledging no two shipping companies or ship owners are the same. Ship operates under a wide range of different conditions, and so the ISM code is based on general principles and objectives. Clearly, different levels of management will require varying levels of knowledge and awareness, and the consequence of good safety management is commitment from the top. So remember, we were talking about leadership. So the ISM code was the first bit of regulation to try and do that. And as I said, implementation is the big issue. Now here's another quote I found, which I think is 100% correct. The real enemy of safety is not non-compliance, but non-thinking. So that's why I said at the start, I want you to start thinking about safety differently. So, safety culture. Let's talk about that briefly. So what is it? So safety culture overall is a demonstration of the overall organisational
Mr. Allan,
culture.
sorry for interrupting you. You have only 10 minutes left.
Yep. And their values and actions. It's a sum of what the organisation is and does in pursuit of safety. And it's a collective and continuous commitment by leaders and managers and employees to emphasise safety. So it is a joint collective solution. And remember, it takes leadership. I keep saying this, it takes leadership to improve safety. So that is the role all of you in this room have to play today and tomorrow and every day afterwards. Some attributes. So what do you see in a safety culture system? You see a strong commitment and support from leadership to achieve consistently safe operations. You see an organisation where everyone is responsible for safety, and that can only happen in a blame-free culture. People aren't blamed for raising safety issues. And it's a collaborative decision-making across all employees. And importantly, the organisation seizes any opportunity to improve. And that's because, and this is a quote from the early, this person, Mark Twain, died in 1910. Continuous improvement is better than delayed perfection. So don't wait to make things perfect. Do them now. So back to risk management. Now, I'm aware that you know there's a difference between hazards and risks. So I've given those definitions there, that hazard is the potential to harm a person, risk is the possibility it will happen, and a risk assessment is looking at what could happen if someone exposed to a hazard and the likelihood of it happening. So I'm assuming you're pretty well versed in risk assessment. So, in an initial risk assessment, we look at the likelihood and the consequence, yeah? But at an initial risk assessment, we do that with no controls, okay? So you need to know what is the risk if I do nothing. Now, likelihood is an interesting one. Likelihood includes an element of frequency of exposure, and this is where it becomes difficult, because doing a task regularly might mean the risk goes down because you know it, you've experienced it, and you've seen it lots of times. But the risk might also go up because you become complacent and you're exposing yourself more to that hazard. So it is not easy to determine likelihood and consequence. You've seen these tables. So we do our risk assessment and we come out with an outcome that says our risk is critical, high, moderate, or low, or very low. Yeah? So we do that with no controls. The hierarchy of controls is important because that helps us to decide what is an effective response. So originally there were 5 hierarchies of control, and that was eliminate, substitute, engineering, or administrative controls, and PPE. In more recent time, there's a 6th, which is to isolate the hazard. So that's what it looks like. And your most effective is at the top, and you come down to PPE, which is your least effective. So if you consider that, prescriptive regulation I was talking about, it deals a little bit with elimination. It deals a little bit with isolation and engineering controls, but prescriptive regulation doesn't touch administrative, does touch this a bit, but if you consider ISM or performance-based regulation, that will touch all of them. And I saw this one at an airport recently. This is a good example of that isolate. They have their electrical equipment inside a room, so it's in a room with a locked door, with security on it. So this is a good example of isolation I saw that I just took a photo of for this. So safety culture, as you build a safety culture in an organisation, the sorts of things that might happen is you move from inherent to residual risks. And what that is about, and the organisation I was in, we did this. You would do a risk assessment before you put any controls, and then you do another assessment after you put your controls in place. So that told you whether your controls were effective or not. Another thing that you get in a refined safety culture system is organisations start to define what likelihood and consequence are. And things like consequence, that can be about health and safety, or it can be about reputation. So in a more refined safety culture system, you will start to define what each of these elements looks like so that your risk assessment is more accurate. And you can have risk appetite statements. And I'll give you an example of one of those, along with constant reviews. So that's that risk assessment matrix I told you about. Here's another type. You've seen all these sorts of things, but the critical thing is what you're always trying to do is move from unacceptable risks down to acceptable risks, yeah? So, as a risk tolerance statement, and this comes from the Australian Maritime Safety Authority, and in terms of leadership, the board of AMSA, they issued these statements. And I put this one up as an example that what our organisation said, we have a low tolerance, so in terms of our regulatory approach, we had a low tolerance for approaches that are inconsistent with what we are required to do, but we have a low to medium tolerance for risks in pursuit of innovation, and then we had a moderate to high tolerance for the application of contemporary and groundbreaking regulatory approaches. So what that meant was when we did our risk assessment, we could say, all right, we will accept a medium risk in the case of innovation, but if we had a regulation that said we couldn't do it, we'd say no, we couldn't do it. So this risk statement helps us to know what is an acceptable risk. And then I've given this other one, Oh, I went way too far. The last one, we have low tolerance for practices that compromise safety and may lead to fatalities. So you can see here, our risk tolerance was very low, but in this, it was higher. So this is what you get in more refined safety culture systems. Big ships versus small vessels, oops, we know that's a problem. Big ships have lots of resources, They have lots of procedures, whereas small vessels usually don't have procedures as much, don't have the resources, and in Australia, in our domestic sector, we have a lot of one-person operators. So it is a completely different environment, domestic and small vessels. I like this quote, and again, this is from the mid-1900s. The future of safety movement is not as much dependent on the invention of safety devices as on the improvement of methods in educating people to the ideal of caution and safety. So again, I want to challenge you to think about safety all the time and think differently. So in terms of some conclusions, we have ISM and regulation, the two types of regulation I spoke about. If we put that together with a safety culture, guess what? We have success. And this is what we are still working on. So it is about saying what we do, then it is about doing what we say, and it is that that gives us success. And in case you were thinking, but look, we can just ignore it, this quote I think is very, very important. Not responding, doing nothing, is actually a response. And we are all equally responsible for what we don't do as we are for what we do. So ignoring it, pretending it will go away, does not work. And the safety culture is a bit like a cake. You need ingredients.
Mr. Allan, sorry for interrupting you. Your time is over.
One second.
All right.
You need to mix your ingredients in the proper proportions, and then you need to bake it carefully. And this very last quote, the superior man, when resting in safety, does not forget that danger may come. And do you know who said that? Confucius, 2,500 years ago. Terima kasih.
Give applause for our speaker from Australia, Mr. Allan Schwartz from M.Sc International Australia. Very insightful knowledge that we got this morning regarding safety culture and what is the factor that contribute and successful the implementation of safety culture. As he mentioned about the regulation and also the access of the regulation itself, and then how we implement the regulation and comply with the regulation. I think that's very fundamental issue. And we have the regulation, but we not comply with them. And how is we achieve of the safety culture? It's very crucial, and thank you so much. It's very insightful knowledge we got from you. Thank you so much, Mr. Allan. So we will continue with the next speaker with the next topic in different side from the global maritime side. From the Philippines, our neighbor country, the Filipino. Welcome Mr. and Ibu Pastrana from the Philippines. She will present about navigation maritime safety. The floor is yours. Please give applause for Miss Eri and Ibu Pastrana from the Philippines.
Hello. It felt like Miss Universe. Hello, everyone. I'm Mary Ann Pastrana from the Philippines. I'm happy to be here. We enjoyed Palembang yesterday. We had pempek and massage and blow dry. So feels good to be here. Nice to meet you all. As Putra introduced me, I'm Mary Ann Pastrana. Where is my presentation, Firsa? Let me tell you a story. So I am an entrepreneur first before being marinated in the shipping industry. Way back in the 90s, 1994, 1995, we took the ferry, my husband and I took the ferry with our 2-year-old daughter to cross the islands, took a ferry to visit my father-in-law who decided to retire at the age of 50 in the islands. And when we took the ferry, we had such a horrible experience that I actually got a urinary tract infection after that trip because I was holding my pee, didn't want to use the toilet in the ferry because it was bad smelling. We eat the smoke. And at that point, my husband and I kind of talked about it and said, you know what, we pray, we hope and we pray that someday we can impact this industry because we don't want our countrymen to be riding ferries like this. And so I think God above heard our prayer and we somehow found ourselves in the business. And this is our business. We are called FastCat, and we go by the tagline, very safe, very fast, very convenient. So we did this. You know, my husband finished agribusiness in the University of the Philippines. That's where we met. And I always joke about it that he ended up being a ship owner when he finished agribusiness because he just kept on agreeing and agreeing on any business and bought ships without, you know, the background in maritime. That's why that propelled me to study at the World Maritime University and now taking up my PhD so that I have some credibility in running the ships. So this is the Philippines' first catamaran roll-on, roll-off ferries nationwide under the flagship brand of FastCat. We have 18 FastCats connecting the Philippine Islands in their 3 major nautical highway corridors, Central, Eastern, and Western. And we pride ourselves to be the first to modernize the ferry in the Philippines. So think like when you go to McDonald's, the restaurant, the branding is the same. It's the same in a FastCat. You go anywhere, connect in the islands of the Philippines, it looks the same. It's a catamaran, it's Australian design, and we're the first to modernize in the Philippines. And our mission is to connect the Philippine Islands and neighboring countries by providing safe, fast, and convenient ferry transport system for passengers and cargo with international standards. And our vision is to contribute to nation building by being the industry leader and standard setter in the ferry transportation business. So just a quick statistics on the Philippine ferry market. We have about 181 ro-ro routes in the Philippines, 38% drop in number of domestic vessel operations from 2021 to 2022. Well, that's because of COVID. There are about 4,068 domestic companies accredited by Marina. Well, we have 7,641 islands, not like you, maybe 1/3. You're 17,000, right? Indonesia, 17,000. Okay, and we have the 5th longest coastline in the world, 7th most number of islands in the world, and we have about 188 million metric tons of foreign cargo throughputs in 2022. So the domestic shipping industry has an essential role in the transportation of passengers and goods in the country, as said by our opening speaker earlier and also by Dr. Echo. But in the Philippines, there was a Republic Act 9295, which is the Domestic Shipping Development Act of 2004, in its drive for a strong and competitive domestic merchant fleet, ensuring safe, reliable, and efficient passenger and cargo services. And I guess our company was the first to take on that modernization act by bringing in the first brand new vessels in the Philippines. On statistic records, we have from 2011 to 2021, 25 ferry accidents, but I don't think this is reliable. I think there's more. We have to improve on getting data, but well, this is the data that I culled from the safety of domestic ferries from WMU, our school. Okay, and 599 lives lost from ferry accidents, 2011 and from 2011 to 2021. And the most recently recorded accidents was in March last year, wherein there was fire incident on board at the waters of Basilan, where we had 29 deaths. And in May 2023, a collision incident involving 2 ships in the vicinity of Mandaue City, Cebu, where 25 were injured. So you've been talking about regulation, and yes, we have the safety management system in place in our practice, in our operations every day, mandated by our Marina, or our Maritime Regulatory Agency. We have ratified the ISM code, as you have said earlier. I am just enumerating here the elements of the ISM. I'm sure you're quite You're familiar? Have you ratified the ISM? Yes, of course. We're the same. So I will not delve into this. Why is it not? Okay. This is the ISM certification that we're getting from our Maritime Industry Authority, allowing us to operate and certifying our safety. Of course, we follow these, the ISM, wherein it has become the foundation of our operations. We eat, live, breathe safety every day, but it doesn't exempt us too in accidents. We still have that. You were talking about this PDCA cycle. So we plan, do, check, act, and the cycle goes on and on. I guess this is the heart of the ISM. Plan, do, check, act. How do we improve? How do we improve? So we do that every day. But how do we do our safety management in FASTCAT? This is the slide that summarizes all that we do. We prioritize safety management through a comprehensive and proactive approach aimed at cultivating safety learning culture within the maritime industry. And I will break it down later as we go through the slides. But you will see how we approach safety management is in this aspect: by digitalization of our shipping operations and services, by advancing research and development, which is probably why I am here too, creating a conducive environment for the industry, for our operations and the whole industry, and green shipping. Okay, we were part of a research called Safe Mode. This happened in 2020, and I think ITS, you're part of it? Yes, okay. ITS, Surabaya is part of it too. You were part of it. I was part of it. And if there's one big takeaway out of that research, this is it. And I wish that you also take this home with you today. So what it taught us is beyond just culture, beyond blame culture, is safety learning culture. And what does it mean? It means being able to capture data, any events, incidents, accidents, near misses. These are reported, investigated, using effective systems, language, and processes. And then what do you do with the data? You analyze the data. And then you determine the causes, contributions, and remedial measures to prevent recurrence. And you have safety learning. You have to be able to have specific and generic lessons to improve safety via job and interface design, automation, and improved risk assurance processes, something that Allan has talked about earlier. And we don't stop there. We do risk-informed learning, wherein we give feedback to the designers, to the ship makers. What are the lessons learned so that we become resilient? And we think about the organization and systemic human element issues. You've been talking about human element, and yes, that is true. And then it goes to operations and maintenance. Again, normal and abnormal operations are monitored constantly for performance variations and safety exceedances. And the cycle goes on and on and on. So again, what I'm saying here is, we are transforming our company to have a safety learning culture wherein we are becoming very data-centric. Data capture, data analysis, safety learning, risk-informed design, and operations and maintenance. So we started this post-pandemic 2022, and so far we're making strides. Slowly but surely, one step at a time. So we were talking about how safety can start with, the opening speaker, our professor from the transportation, talking about ship safety is not just limited in one aspect. So in our case, safety is in the design of the ship itself. So this is what I'm saying. This is FASTCAT. We're the first to bring in modern ships and catamaran in the Philippines. Most of the ships connecting the Philippine Islands are monohull boats, and we brought this Australian-designed catamaran because It's lighter. It's specifically designed to suit the weather and sea conditions in the Philippines, compliant with international fire safety standards. We are ABS certified, so we went beyond regulation by making sure that we're not only certified by our local regulator, Marina, but also American Bureau of Shipping. We have the state-of-the-art navigation control systems. We have a clearance between the water and the hull of 3 meters, hence it's safer. And we have 4 engines so that there is redundancy in case of emergencies. FastCat does not have a ballast tank, which keeps the water out of the boat. So yeah, twin hulls, I already said, and we kind of featured also twin hulls, watertight compartments. It's safer, lighter, so we're kind of faster compared to the other monohull. Okay, we have state-of-the-art navigational control systems that's compliant with IMO's Safe Return to Port regulation. We have 2 steering control systems which transitions from automatic to manual steering for redundancy and preparedness for any eventuality on the sea. We use an A60 fire protection wherein our accommodation area and engine rooms are insulated using this highest grade of fire protection system so that it takes time. When fire happens, it will take time before the fire spreads quickly. We also have a fire alarm system using the FM200 technology within the engine rooms. Sounds expensive, no? It is expensive. Okay, these are the sample of the fire retardant seats found in our business class and premium accommodation, premium economy accommodation made in the United Kingdom. And of course, thinking about renewable energy, as mentioned earlier too, we have solar panels and wind turbines to help in our propulsion. So in addition to FastCat's engines for propulsion, the vessel harnesses the power of renewable energy such as solar panels and wind turbines as alternative backup power, ensuring continued operation, enhancing overall safety and security during the voyage. So this is our Yanmar engine. We have 4 of it in each FastCat. And you can see where I circled green there, that is the new decarbonization equipment we are installing in all our FastCats now to help in the reduction of our greenhouse gas emission. We also are using this vessel tracker. This is a German technology that tracks our ships with geofencing technology. We can see its speed, we can see where it is exactly, so it's a contribution to safety. We continuously monitor its position and movements to prevent collision, avoid navigational hazards, and maintain safe distances. And I actually got this technology speaking in a conference in New York. So yeah, it's good to speak in conferences. Networking. ISTO is one that we're testing right now. This is Indonesian technology introduced by a professor in ITS, Professor Setio. So this is a stowage planning software that facilitates seamless organization of vehicles and heavy equipment cargo on the RoRo deck, ensuring optimal utilization of the vessel space while maintaining compliance with safety regulations and stability requirements. So it's being tested now, but we're seeing some loopholes with regards to regulation and way bridges in government. So it's in progress, but it's helpful in improving safety. To improve customer service and to delight customers, we have launched our online booking so that customers can buy their tickets online, on demand. So it's become seamless. Professor from Malaysia was talking about this, riding a vessel without this safety video. in FastCat, we make sure, sir, that in every trip, we are able to show the video of a safety video, and we have the live demonstration of the donning of the life jacket in each and every trip. We make sure that we have competent crews being trained regularly. Dr. Echo, we also have in our system cadets and cadets from maritime schools in the Philippines training within our systems. They're on-board training for a year before they get their Bachelor of Science degree in marine transportation. So in that aspect, we're able to help build capacity for the Philippines and for the global fleet. So this is just showing our certifications being issued by ABS, by our regulator Marina, and passenger ship safety certificate. My last. Okay, so to close, safety at sea is not just a goal, but a responsibility we must uphold. It's our actions today that shape the maritime journeys of tomorrow, safeguarding lives and livelihoods alike. So that's from me. Thank you very much for listening, and allow me to invite you to the Philippines.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mary Ann Salamat.
Salamat.
It's very insightful experience from you. If I can see from your biography in here, your experience as a president Archipelago Philippine Seafarer Training Institute, 2008 present, President Eurostar Ferry 2020 present, President Scorpio Transport and Mining Services, 2014 to 2021, EFE Treasure Archipelago Philippine Ferry Corps, 2002 present, ESP Treasure P Harbor Ferry and Port Services, 2002 until right now. And for sure, EFE Treasure Penta Maritime Corp, 2001, and also involved many activity in Filipino in maritime industry. I really admire you as a woman in maritime industry. Please give applause for our speaker from the Philippines. You also graduate from BS Nutrition, University of the Philippines, Los Banos, 1984, 1989, and postgraduate diploma executive maritime management from the World Maritime University. I thought we are the same alumni for W, but you're my senior, right? Now you took the PhD at the World Maritime University, Malmö, Sweden. All right, so talking about our speaker perspective from the industry in the Philippines, Ms. Mary Ann said about the FastCat, how they're doing to improve the safety in the organization, and also doing practice safe mode. I saw the picture that you are also involved in the safe mode project. Is it the same what we are the WMU working with Sepno project? And also, Mr. And you also, talking about the blame culture. This is very unique. Blame culture, something simply, but the big impact for the maritime industry. Mungkin bapak-bapak, ibu-ibu bisa tahu bahwa blame culture itu budaya menyalahkan di kapal. Ketika terjadi kru kapal disalahkan oleh perwiranya, atau juga on top management, mereka akan takut melaporkan baik near miss maupun insiden. However, sebenarnya laporan yang dibutuhkan daripada near miss dan juga insiden yang masuk itu adalah satu learning culture yang digunakan perusahaan atau organisasi untuk meningkatkan keselamatannya dari pembelajaran peristiwa-peristiwa buruk. Namun yang terjadi saat ini bukan hanya di Indonesia, banyak pelaut-pelaut yang takut kalau melaporkan near miss maupun insiden. Mereka takut kontraknya diputus, mereka takut nanti disalahkan di atas kapal, dan juga berhubungan dengan ancaman di atas kapal. Ini yang sedang terjadi, dan we are working also with the Safe Mode project with World Maritime University. I involved this research in Indonesia also. Right, it's very interesting to talking about that. However, we still have another speaker from Indonesia. We're waiting Professor Dr. Ketut, Buda, Artana to join with us virtually from Italy. Still try to connect with our professor. Selamat malam ini atau selamat sore ini, Prof, dari Itali. Kita coba untuk dengarkan suaranya, ini jauh sekali. Biasanya berbeda 7-8 jam di Eropa. Profesor Ketut Buda Artana, bisa dengar suara saya? Ya, tapi kita masih kesulitan untuk mendengar suara beliau. Oke, sambil menunggu koneksi baik, saya akan sedikit menceritakan tentang perjalanan Profesor Dr. Ketut Buda Artana. Profesor Dr. Insinyur Ketut Buda Artana ST M.Sc, menyelesaikan studi S1 di ITS Surabaya pada tahun 93 dan menjadi dosen di Teknik Sistem Perkapalan FTK ITS. Ketut Buda Artana melanjutkan studi master degree di Newcastle University United Kingdom dan doctoral degree di Kobe University Japan. Selain akademisi, KBA telah melakukan banyak riset dan pengembangan inovasi dalam bidang keselamatan maritim dan keselamatan instalasi di laut, termasuk berbagai riset dan inovasi dalam teknologi transportasi dan distribusi LNG. Beliau juga menguasai expertise dalam bidang marine engineering, marine technology, maritime safety, risk management of shore facility, risk assessment of marine installation, system reliability, LNG technology. Lahir di Singaraja, Bali, menyelesaikan studi S1 ITS di Surabaya, dan juga saat ini beliau juga aktif dalam bidang pengembangan AIS di Indonesia. Beliau juga pernah menjabat sebagai Wakil Rektor ITS Bidang Riset Kerjasama Internasional dan Inovasi tahun 2015 sampai dengan 2019, Direktur Internasional Office ITS 2007 sampai dengan 2012, Sekretaris Senat ITS 2013 sampai dengan 2015, Kepala Lab Safety 2019 dan sampai sekarang. Dan juga banyak sekali penghargaan dan achievement yang telah diraih beliau, salah satunya adalah Young Academic Research Award Japan Institute of Marine Engineering 2003, dosen berprestasi 2 ITS tahun 2007, Best Startup Kemristek Dikti tahun 2018, Academic Leader Bidang Maritim Kemristek Dikti tahun 2019, Anugerah Wira Adicarya ITS 2019. Di internasional scale juga, beliau juga telah banyak sekali terlibat dalam seperti Board of Examiner Singapore Institute of Technology, Board of Examiner Newcastle University, Executive Director Inspirasi ITS NTU Singapura, dan juga telah banyak sekali menghasilkan publikasi ilmiah baik di jurnal nasional maupun internasional Scopus bereputasi. Sumbangsi yang dilakukan oleh beliau adalah pengembangan sistem AIS, yaitu Ketut Buda Artana menginisiasi terbentuknya konsorsium riset AIS dan telah menghibahkan peralatan AIS ITS kepada 12 perguruan tinggi di Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Profesor Dr. Insinyur Ketut Buda Artana ST M.Sc from Institut Teknologi 10 Nopember, Surabaya, Indonesia. You still have a problem? Profesor, apakah bisa mendengar suara saya?
Father, can you hear my voice?
Okay, yeah, we are hear your voice. Good.
I think that, okay then I received the message from the committee. Anyway, good morning everyone. I'm very happy to be invited by the committee to be part of the presenters today. And first of all, I would like to extend my gratitude to the director of Politeknik, the center, the keynote speakers. But first of all, I would like to extend my sincere apology for not being able to attend physically. Sudden assignment from the government requires me to go to Milan for, feed the development of one deep water gas exploration project of Indonesia. So again, I hope it doesn't put too many troubles to the committee hosting me virtually. First of all, I would like to use this session to discuss with you some concern on inland water safety based on my experience supporting the National Classification Society in developing the guidelines for safety assessment. I believe the first speaker, Mr. Allan, been mentioning to us that we are, especially the maritime regulators, has been very responsive to every accident by response to new regulations, and many regulation has been produced not only by national maritime regulation but also by IMO to minimize the to minimize the risk of maritime accident. But again, I'm agree with Allan that producing regulation is not only the solution, but the most important thing is how to empower the stakeholders, especially providing them knowledge how to measure the safety itself. So this time, I would like to share my experience in supporting the Indonesian Classification Society in producing the guidelines for safety assessment. And another speaker, Mary Ann, also mentioned about the Safe Mode project in which ITS is participating. Very happy to join this project, and I would like also to say hello to my senior, Professor Omar Yaakob. We were in the same university in the period of 95 to 97 in Newcastle University. I will start my presentation by sharing my slide. So the title of my presentation is the importance of safety and risk standard. I consider as an effort in establishing navigational safe operation of inland waters. I will provide you with several topics in my presentation. The first one is I will recall some accidental data of the inland water transportation, and then how the safety standard or safety guideline is developed in regards with the inland water safety. And then I provide you with several case study. And the last one, I will share with you the activities of us with other 14 universities in supporting the safety operation of ships, not only at sea, but also in the inland waters. Let me start with this slide. Actually, Indonesia has been very much responding to the implementation or the operation of inland waters, especially with the implementation of Ministry Decree of number 65 in 2009 on the non-conventional vessel standard. The problem is this regulation doesn't provide any detailed information on how the safety is measured. So that's why DKI, the Indonesian Classification Society, has initiative to develop guidelines to measure the risk of domestic vessel, in which I've been invited to the team member to develop these guidelines. And today I would like to share with you the experience of me developing this standard. According to the data provided by the National Transportation Safety Committee, or in Indonesia we known as KNKT. So I tried to collect the data from 2018 until 2021. It's not quite much data we have, but it's quite interesting that as we can see from this figure that accident at river and lake is still play very important portion to the whole ship accident in Indonesia within those 4 years. And it consists of around 15.74% accident at river and lake contribute to the total accident of Indonesia, of ship accident. And if we look at into more detail of those data, that we can see that most of the accidents related to ship sinking, and then followed by collision, and then only 13.8% incident related to the casualties, but it's still very high numbers. And then grounded also one of the major accident happened especially in the river. And then via explosion is contribute to around 10% of the accident. So basically, this data mentioned to us the number of accidents is still very high, and we need to make sure that effort will be put to overcome the situation. We also understood that the character of inland transportation will be very much different to sea transportation. And then inland transportation, especially the one who located in very big river, involves and affect people more than sea transportation. The number of accident in sea transportation is higher, but impact of the inland water transportation accident is considered to be very high to the people because the location of the accident is very close to the people, and then will affect the daily life economics of the people. So we need to pay very good attention on this aspect. And the problem is we don't have formal standard in assessing the safety of inland water transportation. That's why the BKI, the Indonesian Classified Society, provide the regulators, the shipping company, with the guidelines, very simple guidelines to measure the safety operation of their ship. Let me a bit back to the very basic concept of the safety. The first speaker, Allan, mentioned very clear the meaning of the safety. Allow me to use different terms that safety is a condition where the risk is acceptable. As long as the risk is acceptable, then we can consider the condition is safe. Safety back to the concept of risk. If we take back then a measure of potential for accident in terms of frequency and consequence. And then for the frequency, we back to the concept of reliability. Reliability is originated from statistic, and statistic back originated to mathematics. So this flow of development of philosophy bring us now to the concept of safety, which is the widest concept now used by industry, including the maritime transportation. I don't want to put too many effort to explain about the way of risk assessment is performed. This is very generic method in measuring the risk of one industry, including the shipping industry. So basically, this is a two-dimensional approach by using the frequency analysis and the consequence analysis, and then we are going to combine those assessment using a standard or guidelines to measure whether the risk is acceptable or not. And a lot of methods in each step has been introduced by quite many researchers, many textbooks within the hazard identification step, and then frequency assessment, consequence assessment, even the standard related to the risk representation. I don't want to explain on this matter, but allow me to show you that in some cases, people represent the risk by using the risk matrix, and in some cases, people also represent the risk using the risk index, as we can see through this slide. And if the case related to the fatalities, then usually people are representing the risk using the event curve, as we can also from this slide. So these guidelines will recommend the people. We propose the very simple one using the risk index to enable to ease the process of risk assessment. This is the process of we develop the standard. We do quite many surveys in Danau, Toba, in many rivers, and alongside with colleagues from Minister of Transportation and Indonesian Classification Society to see the real situation of inland water transportation. This is some of the picture how we do survey on several substandard vessels. As you can see here, paint is stored on the deck, and they're very close to the engine hatch. And then the way we store the life jacket also is not quite good, because they just put on the deck, and then the very old engine, and then fuel is stored inside the plastic container, and then it is also located very close to the engine. So such, if you can see here also, this fact is very common in the inland water transportation in Indonesia. So that's why the safety culture is very important, because this is not only related to the technical how we evaluate the risk, but how we give the ship operators a concern about the safety itself. And then, based on our finding, there are several hazard we consider as a hazard come up. The first one, for sure, the substandard ship in general, and then overloaded operation, one of the cause of the incident and accident. Failure in stowage management. That's why Mary Ann mentioned earlier that ISTO, the software produced by my colleague, Professor Setio Nugroho, has been tried in implementing in Philippines and in other countries as well. That's a very good innovation from Professor Setio. And then substandard fuel storage system, as we can see from the picture, substandard pipeline. In some cases, the ship using very generic pipe for fuel, a plastic pipe to connect the service tank to engine, and we see that in many places and in many equations. And then substandard and old engine, absence of navigational and communication equipment, and then absence of firefighting system in some cases. Sprinkler doesn't work due to very close to the cargo. I mean, big truck entering the ferry, and then the sprinkler on the car deck is very close to the cargo of the truck, since the truck is overloaded. So such kind of situation is very common in inland transportation in Indonesia. And then as well, the lashing system, not proper lashing system, or there is a lashing system but it's not implemented by the crew. And the reason why this happened, I believe that because they don't know, they don't realize that will affect the safety operation of the ship, and then they don't have resources to manage the situation. And the important thing is they don't know how to measure the situation. So the guidelines we developed with Indonesian Classification Society try to answer the point number 4, to empower them. They could self-measure the safety by using our simple guidelines. And then this is the data we collect, mentioned to you, and we are very confirmed that those incidents and the cause of accident is very well noted by the KNKT. And then by using those data, we do frequency analysis to measure the number of accidents per year, to make sure that we got the proper numbers. Then we need to recall the quite many data collected by the KNKT, even though not all accident been evaluated or been observed by KNKT, but we put additional percentage of number of ship involved in the accident. So this table shows the location of the accident from 2018 until 2020, and we could get the average frequency of incident per year. And then having the calculate the frequency of incident per year, then we try to do benchmarking on several guidelines produced by or implemented in other countries. For example, the formal safety assessment of the IMO, and then UK standard, US waterways and port, US inland waterways, and Pakistan regulation on inland waterways, India as well, just to make sure that whether the guidelines we develop is, benchmarkable to the guidelines produced by them. And then as we can see, in some cases we have different, range of frequency used by the standard. IMO, if the frequency of ship collision per ship is 0.1 per year, then IMO considered to be frequent, and UK considered to be frequent, but United States consider this frequency is high. So each standard have different perspective on measuring the class of the frequency, so as the consequence. And then by using the benchmarking process, we try to develop the range of frequency on consequence according to the data given in Indonesia, because the situation of accident in Indonesia should be very much different to situation of accident in other countries. So we correlate those benchmarking process with the accident data in Indonesia. As we can see here, we do quite many sensitivity analysis to measure, to combine the frequency index, consequence severity index, and the risk index, and then to relate with the risk level, the proper risk level that we could implement in for the assessment via on inland water ships due to the malfunction of the sprinkler system, because the truck is very close, the cargo of the truck very close to the sprinkler in the car deck. We do quite many assessment on several vary, as we can see from this slide. And then we do assessment on the frequency analysis by using fault tree analysis, by modeling the system. And then we also measure the frequency of the hazard because of sprinkler head, no output water, the fail of hydropower system, and there is the condition where seawater system is not available due to the failure of the pump. Then we calculate each hazard by means of fault tree analysis, and then we could calculate the frequency index of those hazards. And then after calculating the frequency, after estimating the frequency, we continue with doing simulation via simulation using a certain software, a PyroSim software, and then we could measure what is the impact of the incident. If the incident happened, what is the consequence? And then we calculate the hit rate as the case. And then finally, we could provide assessment on the risk. As we can see here, before the mitigation is take place, then the risk is measured in as low as reasonably practicable level with the risk index of 7. But after we manage the situation by implementing cost-benefit analysis on the mitigation, then we can reduce the risk to still in the alarm level, as low as reasonably practicable, but the frequency can be reduced from from frequency number 3 into frequency number 1. And then this is the case of cost-benefit analysis. We a very simple cost-benefit analysis we provide in the guidelines to make sure to empower that the ship operator can use the best and the most cost-effective measure. And to implement this guidelines, we also working with several universities. Currently, we work with 15 universities through Automatic Identification System Research Consortium. What we do is, this is those 15 universities now we are working with. And then this is the coverage of the ship monitoring that we get from currently 10 or 11 remote base stations. And then this this is some of the picture how we measure the traffic in several locations. Malacca Street, Sungai, we monitor the traffic of the vessel. This is located in our remote base station located in Batam. As we can see, every movement of the ship can be measured, and we save the old data, the AIS data in cloud. And then what we do in our consortium is trying to, integrate the data we have, and then the need of Indonesian stakeholders, maritime stakeholders, for many applications, for reporting system, accident and search and rescue, cargo information, and anything else. So this data content was very, very big data. This is the platform we developed in ITS. So we install quite many AIS receiver. 11 remote base station now has been installed, and then those data is collected in our scientific logic. We combine those data with the pipeline data, platform data, ship database, and environmental database, and we use this platform to develop several applications. This is some application that we've been produced so far. So for ship tracking, fuel monitoring, emission monitoring, collision avoidance, oil spill monitoring, and then we also has been commercialized the application for early warning of subsea cable, subsea pipeline, and other things. And in the future, we want also to do to develop application to minimize the dwelling time of ship at port, and then port security and many other things. I think this application will be very much beneficial to ensure the safety operation of ship in Indonesia. This picture is the equipment we developed in our laboratory, and we grant to 11 universities, and we targeting to install another 4 more remote base station. So, but each university now has their own equipment, and I would like to invite also Politeknik Palembang to join the consortium, in which all researchers will share their experience using this equipment and using the data and developing any application and research, any publication by utilizing the AIS data collected from our equipment. So this is part of the equipment we granted to some universities. As picture, we install during the pandemic COVID, we install quite many remote base station in many university, and then we do virtual, meeting, virtual seminar in with those university. As you can see, this is the university number of research they carried forward, they carried out using our data, and in the early research, in the early year, we grouping the research topic into hardware, antenna, and then data science, information system, and algorithm, and then developing applications. So to minimize the overlapping research topic between universities, and through this cooperation, then the number of publications produced by those universities becoming very much increased. This is the virtual, the last conference we have in Bali, September. I think last month. I think we developed, we performed offline conference in Bali. This is part of the application for fuel monitoring, ship tracking, and then carbon emitted from vessel now been able to be monitored through our application. And then we also plan to monitor the cargo door to door. Ship has been monitoring, but the cargo, once we could develop a very small sensor to be attached on container, then cargo monitoring will be much easier to be monitored. And then this application also been supporting the government in the implementation of, proposing the Selat Sunda and Selat Lombok, Sunda Strait and Lombok Strait to be strait implementing the traffic separation scheme. This is the picture of our researcher attending the plenary meeting in IMO in London, and then IMO agreed to award it Indonesian government the Sunda Strait and Lombok Strait to be straight implementing the traffic suppression scheme in 2019. And then just in September 2024, one of our colleagues supporting the government to compose proposal for particularly sensitive sea area for Nusa Penida in Bali Island and Gilimatra in Lombok. And as we has already known that the government, the IMO also officially awarded those two islands as the island implementing the particularly sensitive sea area. And then the monitoring of those situations can be monitored through our application. And then we start commercialization in 2018. And then we develop startup among the students to install some equipment. This is the installation of the early warning system for subsea gas pipeline and offshore platform for Pertamina, state-owned oil and gas company. As we can see here, we also work with quite several private company to install our equipment, our antenna, our facilities, just to make our coverage as larger and larger. I think that's all my presentation. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you so much. Give applause for Professor Dr. Ketut Buda Artana. It's very comprehensive presentations regarding how we enhance the safety aspect, the inland water, such as a domestic ferry, the importance of the safety risk standard and effort establishing navigational safety for inland water, even though Indonesia don't have any regulation to assess the inland water for the transportation. But what ITS doing with the Professor Dr. Ketutana established the ICE for establish the ICE on board ship and the domestic ferry is one way to enhance the safety in transport in inland water. That's very inspiring from Professor Dr. Ketut Artana. Ladies and gentlemen, we have also one speaker again from Malaysia. But before we starting to continue, please, I would like to invite to stand up to join with me. Just break for 5 seconds. Yeah, following me, please stand up. Supaya kita lebih semangat. Masih semangat Bapak Ibu? Masih semangat ya. Give applause juga dong buat acara ini dong. Supaya lebih semangat lagi, ikuti kaki saya ke kanan Bu ya. 10 diputar ya, ke kiri 10 kali. Saya yang hitung dari sekarang ya. Following me please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then your left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is a simple exercise, but I believe you are now recharge your mind. Please have a seat. Ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned earlier, we have also one speaker from Malaysia, and he's talking about the sustainability in maritime sector. As we know that International Maritime Organization, IMO, encourage member of the IMO member to encourage them to practice the sustainability in maritime sector. We can see from this perspective, we doing business in transportation. However, right now, the IMO also force member to support the Sustainable Development Goal Agenda 2030. 17 goals. We're focusing on goals in number 14 for the IMO. In how to discussing and how to solve the problem and how to do practice sustainability in inland water, we have speaker from Malaysia. But before we hearing briefly about his presentation. Let me read his profile. Professor Omar is now a professor in marine technology in the Faculty of Mechanical Engineering, Universiti, Teknologi, Malaysia, and research fellow at UTM Marine Technology Center. He has completed a master's degree in marine technology in 1987 and PhD seakeeping design in 1999 at the University of Newcastle. Besides that, at the national level, he has been appointed as a member of National Advisory Council for Education, Ministry of Education, member of National Task Force and Marine Environment, Ministry of Transport, and consultative of committee. And also represent Malaysia in international forum. The Royal Institute Naval Architect appointed him as a fellow 2009 and UK Engineering Council according in him a chartered engineer. He was appointed as a member of the Marine Environment Committee of the Royal Institution of Naval Architect. He has represented Malaysia in many meetings in International Maritime Organization IMO dealing with energy efficiency and the environment. He is one of the founding members of Southeast Asia Collaboration in Ocean Renewable Energy, a member of EOC Westpac Working Group on Marine Renewable Energy, as well as permanent member of the Organizing Committee of Asian Wave and Tidal Energy Conference Series. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Professor Dr. Umar bin Yaakob from Malaysia, Sustainability and Eco-Green Practice in Water Transport.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good morning. Thank you, Putra, for that introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy to be here. I would like to thank Politeknik, especially Pak Eko and Nugraha for inviting me. And it's not very far actually, but we have to go through Jakarta, but otherwise you can just fly from here. It's not very far, direct line. Anyway, all the speakers before this have touched on safety. So I've been given the responsibility to talk about sustainability. Well, you know where this is. This is Musi River. Right.
It's working right now.
Yeah. No, I want to. I cannot control from here.
Is it working, Professor?
Now. Ada yang lain ya?
I help the assistant to helping. Yeah, it's working. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Sorry. Okay. Now I can control, yeah. So this is my outline of presentation. I hope I can do it within 30 minutes. First, we will talk about towards sustainable maritime transportation. We'll try to understand a little bit about what is sustainability and sustainable maritime transportation. What are the three main issues damage from maritime industry, shipping, and so on to the environment, marine pollution, the carbon dioxide, and invasive species. And then we see some examples of approaches for energy efficient low carbon ships. And finally, we look at two urgent issues: sustainability challenges for small inland waterways boats. Okay. Whoop. Okay. Suddenly it goes to concluding remark. Okay. Right. So sustainability. When we talk about sustainability, normally we talk about SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. I hope you are all aware about this. That these SDGs, 17 of them, were first approved by the 200 nations meeting in New York in 2015. So what are the 17? Maybe you have seen this before, where I'll just go through a little bit. So you see that when we talk about sustainability, sometimes people misinterpret or have the vision that sustainability talks about environment. Sustainability only talk about environment. But no, the SDGs is not about the environment. The environment is only, we talk about these four corners, right? Number 7, number 13, 14, and 15. These are the things related to the environment directly. But the rest, no hunger, no poverty, quality education, gender equality, and so on, are also part of SDGs as well. So that is something that we have to, I want to open up the horizon. When we talk about sustainability, is beyond the environment. But still, we have to focus. So what we are focusing today will be mainly towards these 4 and 5. Maybe good health is more related to pollution. So climate action, life below water, and life on land, renewable energy, and good health. Okay, so what are the damage to the environment as far as the SDGs is concerned? Then there are 3. Okay, the first part will be marine pollution. We are very much aware about this. In shipping pollution, we are, we can relate to that very easily. So pollution is basically this one, right? From these parts, from oil, from garbage, from sewage, and so on. And then we have the transport of invasive species, or invasion of invasive species, the alien species being transported from one place to the other. If you remember the fast cat, the fast cat vessel did not use ballast water, right? So ballast water is the main culprit for transport of invasive species from one place to the other. And then we have the twin menaces, twin problems from carbon dioxide. I'll talk more about that. So this is pollution. We are used to talking about pollution from sewage, garbage, oil, exhaust emissions, and chemicals. Okay? But maybe we are less knowledgeable about noise, pollution, and wash. But these are also very important as well. As far as regulation is concerned, MAPOL, Marine Pollution, International Convention on Marine Pollution, 1973-78, covers oil, chemicals, sewage, garbage, and exhaust emissions, but not yet relating to noise and wash. Not moving. Next. Okay, so the previous one is about the first problem, which is pollution. It's covered by the regulation. There are many people doing work on that, trying to reduce pollution, marine pollution. The second one is transport of alien species. This is a classic example of transport of alien species of zebra mussels. How in 1986, there's no zebra mussels in the whole of the continent of North America, except for those 2 points there. But due to the transport of water by ballast water in 2013, that's the idea. And it has cost a lot. The clogging, alteration of food web, and the estimated cost is $1 to $5 billion. So this is a problem. I'm not sure whether this is an issue that we need to look at as well in Musi River or any of the inland waters as well. We are taking the invasive species from somewhere else and bringing to one location. In Malaysia, we have this problem, but not because of ballast water. We have the problem of fish. We call it ikan bandaraya in Malaysia. I don't know what it is called here. It's the fish that people use in the aquarium to clean the aquarium. The fish will go and eat the algae and so on that's in the aquarium. That fish, some people release it into the water. It's not natural in Malaysia. Release it into the rivers. Now it is causing a lot of damage to the aquatic life. So because this fish is very invasive and aggressively breeding and so on. So that's a problem. So this is similar problem that we might face from invasion of alien species. The third issue is about carbon dioxide. And carbon dioxide, if you see here, carbon dioxide is not not regarded as pollution. That's another misconception that people have. Carbon dioxide has nothing to do with pollution because the problem is not pollution. Pollution causes problem to human health, right? And so on. But from carbon dioxide point of view, there are two problems. One, supposed to be global warming, right? You can read that. Global warming, and the first one is acidification, and this one will be global warming. From global warming point of view, the SDG with SDG 13, and from the ocean acidification is life below water. What happened is this carbon dioxide goes into the atmosphere and it becomes acidic and it goes into the sea. The sea becomes acidic. The pH value of the ocean is going down. And because of that, the problem will be the mollusk, the coral species and so on. Many places are being affected because of ocean acidification. So these are issues about life below water and also climate action that is facing us. So carbon dioxide is the issue. And at the International Maritime Organization, IMO is doing a lot of work to control carbon dioxide. This is from the study, the IMO GHG study 2020. Actually, what we are contributing, we means the international shipping community, is contributing, it's not that much, it's only about 3%. But, okay, but the shipping is expected to grow bigger and bigger and bigger, and because of that, IMO is doing a great job in trying to formulate ways of solving this. We see here again the issue of the amount of carbon dioxide being produced by ships. We are the most efficient in terms of carbon dioxide per ton kilometer. We carry a lot of cargo per kilometer for less carbon dioxide compared to, for example, for air, and so on. So it's a 500 gram for air transport. So like we came yesterday from Jakarta is producing 500 gram CO per ton per kilometer. So it is a lot. Again, this is I was at IMO. Why this is very landmark? Because what happened is a landmark decision in July 2011. That's the first rule by IMO to control GHG from international shipping. In fact, that's the first regulation that's across the board, across the industry. There's no other regulation before that, that control all is, once it is implemented, it's implemented all throughout the international community, shipping community. So what IMO, sorry, this is not very clear. What IMO is trying to do is trying to reduce, just you can see like the zero, the green line. So we expect that, okay, IMO is expecting that by 2050 we can reduce the amount of carbon dioxide to 50% of what we have now, and by 2100, okay, most of us will not be around by that time to check whether that is achieved or not. Okay, so by that time they expect to be zero. That means all shipping activities do not produce any carbon dioxide. Okay, by 2100, and 2050 is 50% of the shipping will produce. It will be reduced from the current, actually 2008. 2008, it goes to 50% by 2050. So because of this, a lot of work is being done to reduce carbon dioxide. So one of the way will be, among the ways we'll see here in the approaches, the fourth section of my presentation. So we see here there are 4 approaches to reduce carbon. Okay, whatever we want to do, we try to reduce carbon. So number 1 is the design approach. So designers like us, navigators, ship construction, people and so on, shipbuilding, we try to use the design approach to reduce carbon. How do we do it? We reduce the amount of fuel that's required to push the ship at the same speed. So we need less power, we use less fuel, less carbon dioxide. So that's basically the idea. Now, how do we do that? These are some examples. These are some design examples that we do. For example, we optimize the main dimensions, the shape of the ship, how long is it, how fine is it. We call that block coefficient. So we do that. Sometimes we use lightweight construction. Instead of using steel, we use lighter one, aluminiums, composite materials, and so on. The lighter the ship, the less power is required to push it. So very simple conceptually, yeah, but it's difficult to do it exactly. And then we have hull air lubrication. Underneath the hull, we reduce drag, resistance of the ship. To move it, we put bubbles underneath. So with the bubbles, we can reduce the skin friction. Okay, and with that, we can reduce the resistance, drag, and the ship can go faster at the same power, or it can go at the same speed with less power. Okay? And the hull coating, of course, we know that we can change the hull coating. Without proper hull coating, then the fouling, the growth, will increase the drag. And then the propeller itself also can be optimized. Like this one, they are using contra-rotating propellers. One propeller rotating one way, the clockwise, the other one is rotating anti-clockwise. And studies have shown that we can reduce the power requirement by 10%. And the engine itself, 10% by using waste heat recovery. Instead of the heat being, I think some of you engineers know, because we have the waste heat recovery system. In some ships now, we have, at least to generate steam, yeah? But some other ways we can also generate electricity, and that electricity can be used for good use. Okay, so the next one will be large ship design. Of course, this is not applicable to small ships, inland waterways, and so on, but I'll just use to give you an example of economy of scale, how a ship, previously, ships are getting bigger. In 2008, container ships are measured in terms of numbers of containers it can carry. The size is measured from the number of containers it can carry. In 2008, this was the largest ever built. It belongs to M.Sc, Mediterranean Shipping Company. 2 vessels built, 14,000 TEUs. Okay, TEUs. And then later we have the M.Sc coming in, OOCL and so on. But I'm going to show along the way it increased 14,000, 16,000, 18,000, 20,000, and by 2022, M.Sc, the same company, they have 24,000 TEUs. So it has a small bubbles bow, large diameter propellers, energy-saving ducts. M.Sc is also the first newly built for the line and the shipyard to employ air lubrication system. So all the things, the technology that I mentioned earlier, they have incorporated inside the ship. And this ship become very, very efficient. And you see in terms of carriage of cargo, for this big ship, will be a lot of saving there. Right, so that's about the design approach. So if you go to the augmented energy source, then we have people experimenting using wind, okay, using sky sail, for example, using Flettner rotor. Flettner rotor, it is rotating like that, and with that it can push the ship. And then here already running, it is the Ultrabug Tiger, save approximately 20% every year, 20% fuel, which is a lot. So you save fuel, you save release of carbon dioxide, reduce the release of carbon dioxide. And then this is largest solar power RoPax ferry in India. And also here we have the solar ferry, I think somewhere in Germany. Okay. Artemis Technology as well, This is, I think, in Sweden, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, and this is some work being done by researchers in Malaysia. We don't do ferries and so on, but they are trying to use solar panels for fishing boats, trying to reduce the energy requirement for fishing boats. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3, operational approach. Okay, you know better, especially seafarers, you can reduce energy needs by taking all these efforts, but I'm not going to go that into detail. And finally, the zero carbon fuel. If we can change all the engines to zero, there's not using carbon fuel, hydrocarbon, diesel, benzene, and so on, petrol, then there's no carbon dioxide going to be released to the atmosphere. And this is the current, according to World Bank, these are the fuel, the options, the biofuels, hydrogen and ammonia, and synthetic carbon-based fuel. So we can get from biofuel, hydrogen and ammonia, and biofuel. We see some of the fuel are marked green. Green hydrogen, blue hydrogen. Green ammonia, blue ammonia. What it means is that when hydrogen can be produced now using electricity from coal. So we produce electricity, we burn coal, we produce hydrogen. That hydrogen is no use because finally we use coal or we use gas, to produce the electricity. The electricity producing that electricity is used to produce hydrogen or even the biofuel or ammonia. That's not good. Okay, so work are being done now to produce green hydrogen. Green hydrogen means it comes from green energy. The energy used to create the hydrogen and ammonia and also synthetic methanol, for example. These are produced from green energy. So these are called green. Sometimes it's called blue. So blue is when you take the carbon dioxide itself. You use the carbon dioxide, the hydrogen from the carbon dioxide is being used, crack it, use it to produce either hydrogen or ammonia or the methanol, the H. Yeah? So that, because of that, the carbon is being reused.
Professor, apologize to remind you, you have only 10 minutes left.
Oh, okay. Plenty of time, 10 minutes. Okay. Right. Thank you. We use a carbon that's broken down from carbon dioxide itself. So because of that, we call it blue. Okay. So this is these are what I'm saying is these are research being done now. Some of them are already successful. Some are at prototype stage, and some are already being implemented. But the issue is, of course, availability. Availability of this fuel, this alternative fuel. Right. We go to I have 10 minutes, so we go to the last point, which is 2 urgent accessibility changes for small inland waterways boat. I'm just going to give you an example what we are facing in Malaysia in one location. So one location, you know this place, very beautiful. This is Langkawi. You have heard of Langkawi? Langkawi is a very beautiful island, northwest of Peninsular Malaysia, okay, near Thailand. It is about 20 kilometers from the mainland. So, of course, there's ferries. But we're talking about will be more of the tourist area, what the place called the Kilim Geocast. Kilim Geopark or Geocast, I forgot what it's called. It is a UNESCO site. It is very beautiful. It has limestone hills and so on, and there's some mangroves. So this is very beautiful. But the problem now is this boat. This boat, the 2 problems I'm talking about is this boat. They have the problem. The problem number 1 is tourists come to see this. I don't know whether this is happening in Indonesia or in Philippines, but what they see is this, right? It's all erosion. So this issue of wake wash coming from the ship, that is causing this bank erosion. And number two, the issue is this. I think this is very common in Philippines, in Indonesia, in Malaysia, the use of outboard motors, outboard engines. It is actually harmful, and we need to control this. So that's basically the issue. Now let's see, I'm going to go very quickly on that first part. Wake wash impact on the environment, case study of Kilim Geopark. So you see these boats? These are only part of hundreds of boats, very similar like this, all with outboard motors. Almost none using inboard motors. And tourists come, and normally they go in droves and follow. You see like this one? The tourists like to go to ask the ship boatman to go fast, okay? Because that's the thrill. So this is an example, and they go, so many of them, especially during weekends and so on. And because of that, we have this problem of, like that, I don't know, it's like an irony, because it says there, sila perlahankan boat anda. Okay, you're supposed to slow down here, but this is a place when they like to speed, because it is a corner. See, so like corner, you know, Formula 1 corner. So they like to do that. And because here as well, perlahan, slow, right? But still, it's all erosion like this. So this issue is a big problem. So, and of course, because of that, the mangroves are also disappearing. And in fact, there's a lot of damage to the mangrove. Not only it's causing erosion itself, but the mangrove are also causing damage to the mangrove itself. So what we did in UTM, we did a study about the boat. We did CFD analysis of the boat. We did a model construction of the boat at model scale, and we tested it in the tank, a wave tank. So we do all the measurement, and we also did the measurement on site itself. So these are the same boats, what we did. So for example, this boat, we are testing if the boat comes one side and one boat followed by another boat. We did this test like that. If you see boat in front, half boat in front, abreast, half boat behind, one boat behind. And we found that when it is half boat behind, which is actually B and D, it is the wake becomes very much more because of interaction between the waves, the wave, yeah? So, the issue. Next. No? Next. We are.
It's what? Yeah.
Okay. So these are some examples of what we got. We found, for example, at a certain speed, it becomes very high. It exceeds the international standard. The red line is the international standard, or the criteria that normally people put for causing erosion. So certain boats. Here we test with many passengers, location, different seating position, and so on. And we found that if more people sit in front, trimmed by bow, then we have more problem than people sitting at the back. We did also measurement like this. Okay, actually we did the measurement, and we see the measurement at these places, and we found that at those places where the boats are very fast, then the rate is coming to 22 to 45 millimeter per month. Whereas in the control areas, the green areas is only about 4. And so we did by satellite as well. We did a long-term satellite data, 5 to 7 years, and they are also similar in terms of results. So we have some recommendations. Of course, we submitted this already to the authorities. The recommendation is limit the boat length, limit the size of the engines, define speed limits, 6 knots. 6 knots is still okay. Avoid traveling half length abreast. Loading considerations, that means you load more towards the back. Use traffic separation buoys and motorized boats limitation. So in certain locations, we say we should not allow the use of motorized boats. You see that number of boats there. Every day it is like this, especially during school holidays and so on. So it's almost uncontrollable. We go to the last part. impact of the use of outboard motors on the environment. There's not many slides here. So you see this boat. This is Langkawi boat as well. This is about 200 horsepower. That one is 150 mercury. This is 200 to 200. They want to go fast. It's okay. So the issue, the main issue is because for outboard engines, exhaust gases and unburned fuel are released into the water directly. You see that the diagram on the right? You see the exhaust gas, instead of being released to the atmosphere, it is put inside water. And that's the big issue. In fact, here it said outboard motor worse than oil spill. Yeah, it's a bit dated. And you see the number of outboard motors being imported. This is 2019 data from World Bank. I don't know why Philippines is so small. Maybe because Philippines, you build your own, or I'm not sure. But this is from World Bank data. You see USA 225, Australia 26, Indonesia 15, and so on. So Australia is still importing a lot of outboard engines. The issue of import, okay, the issue of, the problem is these compounds being added to the water. Okay, it comes. The BTEX compound, PAH, and MTBE. These are the three most dangerous compounds from the exhaust gas and from unburned fuel, because two-stroke engines have a lot of unburned fuel. Okay, and so the problem is toxicity to aquatic life. So life underwater is facing a lot of problems.
Professor, sorry for interrupting. Your time is over.
1 minute.
All right.
You can just 2 slides. Okay, so this is toxicity, and then explosion. So we have, this is Jabatan Laut, the Marine Department. We have a lot there. And I think this is the 2 slide. 4-stroke versus 4-stroke. 4-stroke have less emission compared to the 2-stroke. This is the standards from the US to Europe, yeah. US still have problem, but the issue here is the problem of this. Like this, because of high standard in the US, the CAB standards is CAB standard. This is US long time ago, 2001, but now they have got all these. Many of these are no longer, so many of the engines are no longer available or allowed to be sold in the US because of the standards. But here we don't have our standard. Not in Malaysia, not in, I don't know, I'm not sure about Indonesia. But because of that, they are not sold there, so they're brought here. This is called dumping of inefficient engines. So because of that, my final recommendation, last slide, is that we need to encourage the use of 4-stroke engines, more efficient 2-stroke or more efficient 2-stroke engine, limit usage of in enclosed water bodies, like rivers, lakes, and so on. We need to limit it. Education and awareness, regulatory measures, and finally, alternative propulsion technology. So with this, we hope that we can reduce the undesirable impact of the outboard engines. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Omar bin Yaakob from Universiti Teknologi Malaysia. It's very insightful knowledge about the best practice how to implement sustainability in maritime industry, especially in water transport. As we know, SDGs is not only on a specific area. Nowadays, the global issue of sustainable development goal, or SDG, is already implemented in the International Maritime Organization through the IMO regulation, such as sulfur cap. In the 1st of January, as you remember, 2020, we reductions the SOx carbon on board ship. This is one way also to protect marine the environment and to supporting the agenda of the global goal. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe you already have the question to our international speaker. We open the session for you to asking directly to our international panel speaker in here. But I have a question for my international panels this morning before we starting for the open question for the meeting. As you mentioned about the effective regulation and also comply with the regulation, Mr. Allan, we face a lot of issue, I think not only Indonesia or probably in this is the global issue also regarding how we implement of the regulation to enhance the safety on board ship. Also the organization. You mentioned also free blame. This is very challenging for, I think not only for Indonesia, all the world. So in your perspective, how we can implement just culture in order to enhance the safety through give them also the equal position as the staffs to speak on board ship to enhance safety through the reporting, such as near miss or incident reporting, something they avoid to speak because they are afraid they will get blamed on board ship.
Thank you. And yes, the blame culture is a major factor, and it continues to be a major factor. One of the things we did when I was in the safety regulator in Australia was we moved somewhat away from when we found a fault on a ship, rather than just saying there is a fault with your lifeboat, we would try and redirect it through the ISM back to the company to say, this is a failure on your part by not having systems in place. So that was one way of doing it, but the difficulty is, of course, is to actually achieve a no-blame culture requires, and it still requires, a cultural shift in organisations. We still see it routinely in Australia with ships that do not comply and the crew are punished. We see it routinely where crew are blacklisted and not allowed to sail with that company anymore. So this continues to be a work in practice, but this is why I think these sorts of forums are important, is because we also need to recognise to fix this is we need to fix it into the future and continue to fix it. So having leaders of the future who start to think about this now, you know, that is probably one of the most important mechanisms to improve a no-blame culture.
Thank you, Mr. Allan, for your briefly answer. And how about from your perspective, Ms. Mary? I know you in the Philippines. You said you were also working in the safe mode project research with WMU, and also I informed them of the research also, talking about the implementation of the just culture in your organizations to enhance the safety aspect on board ship. How you do that?
In our case, what we learned from Safe Mode, they created an app called Safety Eye, and I think it's available to anyone who wants to download it. So it's making the people fill up that safety survey without getting their name, so that they feel safe to just go ahead, and you know, it's a safe space. And we take it seriously. So there's a question there on safety, and I make sure that I read it, that I bounce back the learning from my team so that we have that. So that's one that works, Safety Eye, which we do every year to our we are 1,000 workforce in FASTCAT. So we are geographically dispersed, so it helps that we have that connection. Of course, continuous training and communication nationwide with our people on the boat and on shore, and of course, networking with a bigger community. So just creating that conversation on safety and why it is important to us. It's so important that it's in our tagline. We say it, very safe, very fast, very convenient. In the way we deliver our service, are we safe? Not only you, our customers, so they feel safe. Very fast, very convenient. So in every service, we make sure that our brand commitment is there.
Do you believe it gives the reward for the reporting also one way to give the motivation to implement just culture?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. And you were talking about values. I think who said that? That the values. So we're very much anchored on our values. So it's an acronym of FASTCAT, fast cat, focused, accountable, safety conscious, team player, committed, accountable, I forgot the other one. Attentive to customer needs, team player. So what are we saying? In doing that, we are one. We are all looking and sharing one values and delivering that service in every way.
Thank you, Ms. Mary.
Can I comment a little bit?
For sure.
Okay, it's about safety culture. Yeah, I think I told to some of us about my experience 2 weeks ago. I went from Johor to Tanjung Pinang in Bintan. It's a 3-hour trip in the ferry, and then on the way back, it's 1 hour from Tanjung Pinang to Batam, and another 2 hours from Batam to Johor. So I took 3 trips on the ferries, and I really found safety culture, awareness, and so on is not there. So I think that's something that we need to inculcate among us, among the passengers and also among the ship crew. They just couldn't care. Like for example, when they put the luggage, they put along the alleyway, the aisles, the main entrance, make things easy, more convenience to take the luggage out. Yeah. So they put along the alleyway in front there because there's no other place to put luggage, and in case of emergency, we'll be in trouble. So that's experience.
I believe that also the education, the proper education also for the crew, also one way also the hand safety for the ferry transport on the global, yeah, not only in Malaysia or Indonesia or even for the Philippines. We are same in South Asia, have the same history as a country with many islands. Professor Yaakob, also I have a question for you actually regarding the sustainability transport. Do you believe that decarbonization issue right now we can achieve in the future?
The issue at the moment, I think I'm always aware about it. I did not mention this now. What IMO at the moment is looking at is international shipping. Okay, international shipping. So all the rules and regulations are only applicable to international shipping. So for inland waterways and so on, the regulations are not applicable. That's number one. Number two, IMO itself, there's a lot of discussions at IMO in terms of whether it is possible to achieve that. People are trying to say that by 2050 we need to have zero, net zero by 2050, not to 100 and so on. So there's still a lot of discussion. Mainly is in terms of readiness of people. Like for example, I said just now, is fuel. People are talking going towards not zero carbon fuel. Is it available? Whether the supply chain is there, ready, and so on. So that readiness is really something that is still questionable, and because of that, there's still a lot of pessimism whether we can really achieve what is intended.
Unless all the global actors from the world have the same commitment, yeah. It's not only one country, but I think this is the issue. We have only one planet, one world, the ocean for our young generation, not only for us. Thank you, Professor Yaakob. Professor Ketut, are you still there? Professor Ketut? Still with us? All right, I think he have already events. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the time coming to into the Q&A session. I believe you have questions to our international panels this morning. Do not hesitate to ask your questions. Professor Ketut, you're still there. Professor Ketut, yes. I have a question bit for you. As you mentioned earlier, that Indonesia do not have any regulation for assessment, but the inland water transportations. How, in your perspective, in the future, what we have to do as the nations to solve the problem, the raising the number of the incident on board ship? In your perspective, what Indonesia should do to establish the clear regulations to prevent incident in the future?
Thank you, Paddy, for your question. Can you hear my voice?
Yeah, it's clear.
Yeah, okay then. Let me return back to what been mentioned promote safety culture to increase the safety operation of ship at sea or inland waters is very much important. But as you also mentioned just now, that we don't have very clear. I don't want to say regulation, guidelines, technical guidelines for the ship owners or regulators can perform the safety assessment for inland water. So that's why we take initiative with the Classification Society to produce very simple guidelines, technical guidelines, how the ship owners can initiatively performing assessment as a part of a proof that the ship is safe enough to operate. So
It seems we have a problem with connection. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Hello, can you hear my voice?
Yeah, for sure.
I think this is the time to implement those technical guidelines for the ship owners. The way they will measure the safety is very much simple. So by implementing this guideline, I think this is also part effort to build the safety culture itself, Pak Adi.
All right, Professor. Thank you so much for your deeply answer. I think it's not responsibility about the government itself, but also about the ship owner, how they also involve responsibility for the enhance of the safety aspect on board ship, while the organization also has a big role for the safety. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for you to ask with our international speaker in here. I open the mic, please your raise hands. And if you are virtually joined with us, you can also raise and use virtual Zoom to ask directly with our international panel. Yeah, we have already questions for the virtual participant in here. All right, we have it. Please stand up and please explain your name and what your organization work and your questions to our speaker.
Yes, thanks. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon. My name is Dedi. I'm from Universitas Sultan Ageng Tirtayasa from Banten. Actually, I'm very happy, Pak Ade. Today, I'm student from two professor, Professor Ketut, because my first degree from ITS, and also Prof. Omar Yaakob for my master and PhD. Okay. Thanks for this conference. Maybe I will ask to Pak Allan, Mr. Allan, regarding the risk assessment. Yeah, risk assessment. Actually, this is maybe you can share with us about in Australia, maybe how they manage the risk assessment in terms of maybe the ferry operator on there. This is regularly or maybe only the first time during the ship building or when we the best practice we do in the assessment, because we worried we do the best risk assessment but after incident, yeah, this is not good, I think. So maybe you can share with us about how risk assessment doing in Australia, and how to implement it from government until the ship owner. And the second for Dr. Mary
I think
Ann.
only one question.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
right.
So thanks.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Mr. Allan, hold on. We have only two questions left. So please, another participant to raise your hand. All right, please stand up.
Okay, thank Mr. Allan. Good you explain, but you only a ferry, different with inland waterways. Special inland waterways in Indonesia, like maybe small boats, Palembang, speedboat, the name speedboat. Maybe different with your country because the regulation The example may be small boat, maybe the construction no standard. So like example, the equipment safety, maybe he cannot buy life jacket, maybe no money. Maybe you have experience from your country. If the accident, what happened? Yeah, maybe please you explain. Maybe your experience. Maybe you. Yeah, yes. Silakan. Thank you.
Is it clear the question?
I think the second question, so that was how do you deal with small operators who have trouble financially? Yeah.
Clear, Pak? Yeah. Right. So we have only one opportunity also, but they will give us for virtual participant to answer to ask the question with our international panel. Could you share with us in the screen, please, the participant who want to ask with our international panel? Yes, we can open the chat box. Is there any question there? Right, so we give the opportunity for the woman. I know there are two male already. Now we have a woman in here. Please.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. I'm Susiarni Magdalena from Banten Marine Merchant College, the same with Mr. Adi. I have a question for Mr. Allan, because this is interesting for me, maybe for the others. We know sometimes shipping company has what is the problem with the finance, sometimes. So what will the shipping company do if they also commit a fraud regarding the safety of their worker, with the reason for the budget pressure, I think.
Is it clear question?
I think so. Similar question.
I think what similar question previously.
The shipping company to press the budget, so they do not very intensive care for their worker. So what should your company do, and what should the stakeholder do to solve this problem, sir? Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Wait for a moment. It's because I showed the cadet from Palembang. Give the opportunity for the last question. Please stand up. And what's your name? I'm so proud that Palembang.
Thank you for this opportunity. Firstly, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Lucita Siombing. I'm a student of Inland Water and Ferries Transport Politeknik of Palembang. And I want to give a question, especially to Ma'am Mary. And here is the question. We often finding work loss in human error and techniques. So, from this statement, how do we to increase safety culture in inland waterways transport? I think that's all about my question. Thank you.
Thank you for the questions. Is it clear, the question? Not very clear. Can you repeat again the question, please? It's very fast, just slow.
I will read again my question. So the question is, how do we to increase safety culture in inland waterways transport?
All right, thank you. Now it's time to answer those questions. Mr. Allan, you have a lot of fans in Indonesia to answer the question. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for the questions. And thank you, clearly you were listening, so I'm very happy for that, thank you. I will try to deal with the questions as they came. So the first question, as I recall, was about risk assessments, when they are done and how often they are done. The simple rule that we would apply to our industry and to ourselves was you would do a risk assessment the very first time you start a new function. So you do an initial risk assessment. And then what tends to happen with the maturity you get is you make a decision that that particular function, because we are going to do it a lot of the time, you might create an operating procedure or an ISM procedure or a safety management system procedure. And in that procedure, you set up your system that deals with that activity. And that might include your own checklist, for example. So if you do that, you usually don't do a risk assessment again, but all good procedures have a review date. So you should still review that procedure, and it's up to the company to decide. But whether it's 1 year or 2 years, you do a review of that procedure. And obviously, even when I was in the Maritime Safety Regulator, every year our executive team would get together and spend around about 2 days doing risk assessments of the organisation. And that would be reviewing from the past and just making sure we still understood. So continuous improvement is a critical thing to do. In terms of risk assessments, the other thing that I implemented within the Maritime Safety Regulator in Australia was all of our inspectors, we gave them a little notepad, and that had a risk assessment in it. So if they came to a job that was unusual or it had some activities that they hadn't done before, then they were instructed to stop, take 5 and do a quick risk assessment and decide whether or not they would do that job. And the other thing with no blame culture, at the front of that little book we gave them, it had a statement it started off as me as the executive director, and in the next version we made it from the chief executive of AMSA, that said something along the lines that you are, as an employee, you are authorised to make the decision about what is safe and what is not safe, and if you choose, based on your assessment, to not perform a function, you have our support. So those sorts of statements help with just culture as well. So I hope that answers that question. As I say, just reiterating, sometimes risk assessments stay there and continue to be risk assessments. Sometimes they convert into procedures. The second and probably third question, which would do about financial struggles for companies. That is a major issue that we have in Australia as well. In the big ship world, we have seen it also. Australia is without doubt fairly fortunate that we don't see it a lot, but we do see it. I remember the very first big ship I had that they hadn't been paying the crew and that there was no food on board for the crew. And so we did what we did. We intervened and we stopped the ship sailing and said, you will not be allowed to trade until you pay the crew and get food on board. It took about 4 weeks because the company were in such financial difficulties that they couldn't afford. So we ended up, we had volunteers providing food, we paid for a helicopter. So it is a difficult problem to deal with. In the end, with that particular ship, all of the crew were taken off, and the ship, even though it had, and this was an unusual situation, because the ship had 10 million Australian dollars worth of cargo on board. So it is a very difficult situation to deal with. In our Australian domestic sort of sector, we do have people who are in financial difficulties, As a regulator, we tried to work with them. We tried to say, look, let us together come up with a plan of how to get to compliance. So we would try to work with them to accommodate the safety outcome. But sometimes it's just not going to happen, and sometimes those companies have to go out of business, that they can't operate. If it's too safe, they are not going to improve. As a safety regulator, you just have to say, well, you have to stop operating, which is tough.
All right, for the answer, first answer for the question?
I think so.
Yeah. And how about the second answer from you? Is this the same?
Yeah. I was sort of grouping question 2 and question 3 together.
Right. Is it clear for the audience to see and all? Yes, thank you so much. But now is you for answer, Miss Mary.
Yeah, okay. So safety culture, the way we did it in our company is, well, in our brand commitment, we really put very safe, very fast, very convenient. So safety first. That's how we emphasize how important it is. And you know the motivation for that, I don't know if you know that Indonesia and the Philippines share something in common. Do you know that?
Many things.
Okay, well, in maritime related is that we both are in the top 3 of the highest record of maritime incidents and accidents or deaths maritime. So I was arguing with IMO, with somebody from IMO. I said, oh, I think we're number 3 after Bangladesh, Indonesia, Philippines. And they go, no, you're number 1. I said, what? We're gold? I don't like that. So we're number 1 because of the accident, Doña Paz. And that was actually the motivation for my husband and I to when we started this modernizing our fleet and saying to our people, we want to be safe. We will provide safe ferry service. So how do we do ferry culture? So yes, it's a promise that we made, a commitment that we made in every service, safety. And it is being led by, it was in your presentation, the leaders of the company must be the one directing this, the role models, and we do that, we live that. That's why, girl, I'm still studying up to now because I want to be a model to young women like you, that even if I'm already a grandma, I'm still studying because we need to be experts in what we do. So role modeling, practicing it every day, weaving safety in everything they do every day. Example, in our group chat, the general manager would see somebody not wearing PPE, he would call it out right away. PPE is basic. We have to explain why do you have to wear uniform? Why do we have to do this video? So safety. Them seeing me speak in conference like this is also a way of showing why safety culture is important to us. And one of the major thing that I have imbibed over the years, to answer the question of the lady about ship owners not providing support, not taking care of people. I understand that because shipping is a complex business. It's you can go bankrupt easily with one wrong move because I've been there, and thank God we survived. And okay, we're not exempt. We're still having those challenges, but accidents are expensive in itself. So better to be safe than have one accident. So rather, that's the mindset that we're training our people, putting risk assessment, because we want to be safe now instead of having an accident because we can lose the business. And if we lose the business, there will be no jobs for Filipino seafarers. There will be no ferries that will take people and cargo. So that's how we incorporate safety culture, weaving it in the whole picture so that people will have an appreciation. So it's not limited to just having a ship that will connect the islands, but rather it's really quality. If the airline industry can do it, we must do it in the shipping industry. We don't get a lot of support. That's why we're doing what we're doing, I think. We're lobbying to get more support, and we need more, support. Support. I was not going to say subsidy. I wish, but okay, lobbying for more support. So one of the decisions I have made is that safety is everybody's responsibility. It's not just the ship owners, it's not only the passengers, it's not only government, it's not only leaders' responsibility, but everyone's responsibility. And as you said, in the book that you have, you give everybody that authority that, hey, you have a say in this. You can call out an action that is not safe. So it's everyone's responsibility. I have decided that I will stop complaining. I will not point my finger to somebody or blame somebody, but then be part of the solution. What can I do to make things better? So that's me. Thanks.
Give applause for our international panel in our conference this morning. It's amazing answer to hearing from their expertise field. That also we hear that the best effort what we should do to enhance the maritime safety culture. It's beyond for safety, there's any also just culture, learning culture, and many things issues that need solved together. It's not only problem by Indonesia, but also I think in the world, on the world. So ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, due to the limitations, our time is already over actually. But thank you so much. Please give applause with our international panel this afternoon. Thank you for coming to Indonesia, Mr. Allan. Thank you. And also Miss Mary. And Professor Ketut, thank you for joining us. If you're far away from home, you're still there. Thank you so much for your time. And also Professor Yaakob from Malaysia, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, give me allow to highlight some point regarding our conference this morning that our speaker mentions about we need also effective regulations and how we comply with those regulations. We learn also from others' perspective from maritime industry from the Philippines that how the FASTCAT they're doing best practice to implement sustainability and how they also enhance the safety aspect through the implementation, establish just culture in the organizations. And the other side, the business still continue. However, we also understand that our earth, our ocean has a problem right now with the marine pollution and also some activity from the ship. We also need some effort to support the implementation of the sustainability in our industry, such as Professor mentioned that we need design approach and alternative renewable energy and operational approach and also zero carbon fuel. This is one way how we tackle the issue of to supporting the sustainable development goal agenda in the maritime sector for respective our country and one word, for maritime industry. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining with us this afternoon. I'm very happy to be here. I hope this afternoon you will get a lot of insightful knowledge that you can share with your knowledge. And we have responsibility together to enhance the safety in our maritime industry. From Palembang, South Sumatra, thank you for our international panel. Big applause, one more please. And see you with another conference from Palembang. For sure, thank you so much from Director of Inland Water, Bapak Eko, for your beautiful, inspiring event this afternoon. Thank you so much, and give applause for us. A return to the MC.
Thank you very much. Big round of applause once again, ladies and gentlemen. Kita berikan tepuk tangan yang paling meriah for our great speakers and moderator who led the discussion and also Q&A session. Please stand up, please rise, ladies and gentlemen. We move forward to the certificate of appreciation, also token of appreciation handover. we invite Mr. Eko Nugroho as the director to deliver the certificate of appreciation. Please stand in the center, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to follow the deliver of token of appreciation initiated with certificate of appreciation. Kita akan menyaksikan penyerahan piagam atau sertifikat kepada para pembicara kita, para presenters kita, diserahkan langsung oleh Direktur Poltek Trans SDP Palembang. The first certificate of appreciation given to Miss Mary Ann Pastrana. Next, Mr. Allan Schwartz from M.Sc International Australia is also received the certificate of appreciation. And we have also witnessed the certificate of appreciation given to Mr. Profesor Ketut Buda, Profesor Dr. Omar bin Yaakob, and our moderator, Mr. Ade Mardani Putra. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we have already finished all the section, started from the opening ceremony and also the presentation and discussion. Such a very fruitful section for all of us to receive insightful knowledges, information from amazing speakers from Australia, Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia. And we hope that what we have today will be implied in our professional field. Dan selanjutnya kita saksikan penyerahan cenderamata. Kita berikan tepuk tangan untuk Poltek Trans SDP Palembang yang sudah menggelar acara yang sangat luar biasa ini. Tentunya acara yang selalu dilaksanakan setiap tahunnya dan membahas isu-isu penting. Dilanjutkan foto bersama sekali lagi, mohon izin Bapak, kami persilakan. Boleh maju 2 langkah ke depan. 2 step forward please. Dan kami undang juga jajaran pimpinan dari Poltek Trans SDP Palembang untuk dapat bergabung, kami persilakan. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Satu kali lagi. 3, 2, 1. Cukup, terima kasih. Ya. Sepertinya agak sulit untuk mengepalkan tangan ya. Boleh satu kali lagi. 3, 2, 1. Cukup, terima kasih. Kami silakan kembali ke tempat. Thank you very much once again for the speakers, presenters, the moderator, and also the director of Poltek Trans SDP Palembang. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you very much for joining us in the opening ceremony of the 4th International Conference of Inland Water and Ferries Transport Politeknik of Palembang 2024. For the next session, please enjoy and also follow the following agenda, which I've already mentioned at the very beginning that the presentation will be divided into a few sections. So our committee will lead the section. Selanjutnya kami persilakan Bapak Ibu untuk dapat menikmati santap siang yang telah disediakan. Please enjoy the lunch. Once again, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for coming today. And big and high appreciation for Poltek Trans SDP. Once again, tepuk tangan sekali lagi untuk Poltek Trans SDP Palembang yang sudah menyelenggarakan kegiatan pada hari ini. Kami tetap mengingatkan Bapak Ibu untuk dapat mengikuti kegiatan selanjutnya, di mana para panelis akan memaparkan presentasi mereka sesuai dengan sesi yang telah ditentukan dan akan dipandu oleh rekan-rekan panitia dari Poltek Trans SDP Palembang. Akhir kata, thank you very much. I am Nurwulan Puspanegara. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.